No intros, Andreas.
The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed here are not facts and are nothing more than entertainment. The views and opinions are not facts and do not represent the views and opinions of Xirtus or our channel, and do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of the guests, YouTube, Google, mainstream media, society, or civilization at large, or anybody. Viewer discretion is advised.
How did I get away with that every time? I can't even.
I don't know, dude. I'm like, no intros, bro. No intros. Like, Jesus Christ, everybody's gonna leave. I mean, I like
golden calves dancing in black and white, and it's animated. Michael Bazan. I don't know. Right.
It's nice, dude. It's a nice thing, but intros, like, everybody drops off, man. No one's got time for that shit.
I had another one I was working on that was literally just Alex Jones and his wife, like, back and forth, him slapping himself and her just flexing back and forth, and going, but it's just not done yet. But I swear,
dude, I
swear
can't wait.
It's worth it. Yeah,
yeah. I will make an edit of that at some point. I mean, I did make an edit. That's what I put at the beginning. I put a little supercut at the beginning. People say, make an edit of it.
I think Ping Wave is something people don't realize. I like to watch Ping Trip videos while I listen to Vaporwave. Sometimes I even change the speed, and it feels good. It's a good feeling to do. And the music and just kind of the repetition of the there's a rhythm there, so it works. You'd never be too surprised to find good music in Ping Wave.
So you're saying you're listening to the music that's in my videos, or you're adding?
No. I'll watch your video while I listen to some Vaporwave.
Oh, right? Well, that might clash with the music I already have in there. You're probably on a lot of psychedelics when you're doing that.
I mean, I am a psychedelic, I think. Yeah.
Let me introduce you to my audience, because people they don't know you. So Andreas Xirtus, you might remember him. He was part of the Timcast crew for a while. He did you were running, were you running that show for a while?
I did all kinds of weird stuff at Cast Castle. I also did the 3D printers and things like that. Have you seen my 3D printed stuff? Check this out. with my own head that I've 3D scanned. But also, what people don't know is the hat here, signed, if you can almost, it's so hard to see because of all the lifetime this past, Alex Jones. Right?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Was that when you met him? Was that at the trailer?
Wasn't the first time, but it was, I think, like the third time, because he came once and then we did a thing. And then I went to the Million MAGA March, and then we hung out. And then he did the third show because they deleted his first show. So that time around, I was like, let's do a bunch of cool stuff if he's coming through. Yeah. Let's set up green screens. So I have all this footage of him like doing like crazy karate kicks and things in front of green screens. There's a lot of stuff we got to do. I'm telling you.
What happened to all that footage, dude?
It's on. I got it all here.
Yeah, you gonna make something out of
it? Some of it's on my YouTube. The thing is, I was like, oh, I'll do so much with it. But then I was like looking at footage of me filming Tim, filming Alex, and it just felt like an Andy Warhol, like, surreal moment of meta. I was just too overwhelmed. I was like, this is the thing. This is it. I'm filming the filming of the filming. I mean,
were you there at the trailer episode?
Oh yeah, no. Did not go to that because I got sick that week. I had,
that sucks.
2 weeks. I had COVID. That was like the worst, man.
I've never gotten COVID, dude. I don't know. Maybe I'm immune or something.
Yeah, I mean, we're antisocial.
And I was never on the scene, so
I actually got COVID twice. The first time
might be the reason.
The first time I got COVID was actually a thing called Party Zero. I have a song about it on my channel, and so it was in Connecticut. Ian Crossland and I were living there before Tim had come to Connecticut. We'd met that time. Then he'd left Connecticut, went to New Jersey. And so I'd stayed in his old office. I was basically living in this old office in this old Palace Theater. It's like an abandoned theater that Houdini had performed in. They thought ghosts had been at and things like that. But basically we threw a party. A bunch of these rich Connecticut people threw a party, and we were doing visuals and art and things there and communicating, meet and greet. And that turned into the first super spreader event, where a bunch of people in December flew out from there. And so that was the first major COVID spread. And it was horrible because we didn't know what we had, So
Yeah. COVID. So you were there when when Tim called Joe for help.
That's true. Yeah, he did send.
So
he did send us.
Joe saved your life.
Yeah, Joe totally saved our lives.
Yeah.
Mononicotinamides and vitamin B, I think, is one of the things. And there's a lot of special. What do they call it? Not the adenovirals. There's a better. I think the mononicotinamide cure and the anticlonal antibodies. The
monoclonal, right?
Monoclonal antibodies. Within like a day and a half, we were feeling perfect. It was like probably like 6 hours later. So
Dr. Rogan, man, everybody was calling him.
Well, yeah, he's not a doctor, and it wasn't like medical advice or something like that.
But he hooked you up with the doctor, right?
I mean, yeah, there's a medical group that does. They will come to your house, and they have nurses that will administer for you.
God damn.
Yeah,
must be nice.
But it's not something that you can use to cure cancer or cure COVID. They don't want you to use this treatment. So they basically forbid people from if you have COVID, you're not supposed to use it. It's all there's all these the monoclonal antibodies. You're supposed to use it to keep yourself from getting it. That's okay. But if you use it because you have it, that's against the rules, and people aren't supposed to do that. Yeah,
you're talking about at the time at this exact time period where Joe calls Tim to help. Like the doctors were telling you not to use it.
No, I mean if you have COVID, you're not supposed to use it. You're supposed to only use it to stop yourself from getting it, essentially. So
prophylactic.
Yeah, it would be a very expensive thing at that point. Then,
yeah, but it worked. Everybody that got it got over it real quick. So that don't make any sense.
Correct.
So you're saying
it does make dollars. Dollars are more important than cents.
Yeah. When you went to the doctor, did they tell you like just go home and take a Tylenol and rest?
I mean, I did go to a hospital because the hospitals are like it seemed like the most dangerous place to be. So you have like online physicians will talk to you and they do these tests and then they have you send things by the mail and everything like that. So it's strange, like the kinds of isolation that they put people through. I don't know if you've looked into like the quarantine hotels and things like that, which are still functional in Canada and it's crazy what's going on in terms of isolation policy.
Last time I went to a doctor was 2012 because I had a gallstone attack and I had to have my gallbladder removed. I don't like going to doctors, dude.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless I'm like in a lot of pain, that'd probably be my death at some point, which I'll have something that I need to get checked out and I just never go.
So like I'm a big fan of the future. I think that the future has less human hands interfering with it. That's kind of my goal of it anyway. And I think as we get there, there's more predictive medicine and predictive instead of preventative medicine. That's kind of what it all comes back to. The things you can do to prevent things from happening, including having machines in your home that are monitoring and indexing all these different functions that you're going through. And then you can know whether or not somebody's got high blood pressure or if there's some sort of a problem that's emerging.
Or you can spy on people and know everything you need to know about them for good blackmail.
Right, absolutely. I think that's the other thing, though, is that privacy is going to stop existing, right?
You don't really believe in privacy, do you?
I believe in it. I just think it won't continue to exist.
Yeah.
It exists. I believe privacy exists in the sense that you could almost consider privacy ignorance or something. So I do believe that there's ignorance in the world of itself. The world is unaware of things going on behind doors in its own home. So yes, I think that's going to be a difficult thing to continue with. Just on a quantum level, when you start to think about the singularity, as more and more information starts to be closer and closer together and able to run in parallel. The thing is, it won't matter because what's going to replace privacy is going to be context. And there will be just so much information. People are like, yeah, I get it. You're naked. Everyone gets naked. We've seen it. Like they don't care anymore. I mean, when everyone's toilet is a fecal indexing machine that's trying to make sure you're healthy, it's not going to be embarrassment. That's going to be the thing they're manipulating you for. It's going to be health. It's going to be the value of controlling you by knowing what you need to survive.
Yeah, just a heads up. If you guys are having a hard time following anything Andreas says,
super chat, and then we'll tone it down. That'll be the deal.
Don't worry, because that's me every single day, dude. You talk about shit, and I'm just like, am I stupid or what? Because I just can't follow you a lot of times, dude.
Maybe I just say it the wrong way.
Stupid.
I'll work on it harder. I'll just go back to reading. I'm going to read this comic book really quickly. Here's my comic book. It's this comic book on MK Ultra. And
did you make it?
No. My buddy Paranoid American, who does all these comic books, does. But it's really cool because it tells you all about like what actually happened on April 20th or whatever. You know, it's just all real events along the way. And I think things sound crazy without context. If you have the military, if you have the Military Freedom of Information Act paperwork that tells you this or that, it's going to sound crazy.
I just have a hard time following you, dude. Like, it's hard. I don't know. And then I've been on Andreas's show a few times and they start talking about shit and I'm like, dude, I don't know what you guys are talking about. But the thing with privacy, like there's a difference between government privacy and like citizen privacy, right?
What's the difference?
Well, the government shouldn't have any privacy. We should know everything about the government. But when it comes to like an individual, to me, there should be a right to like, you know, have some privacy in your home and not be spied on. I think that'd be a problem if all of a sudden we already do, right? With our phones, we're already letting the government in our house and every corporation that wants to know get your data and shit. But I think that's kind of a problem, man. You know, for me as a private individual, the idea that I can't go into my home and just have some privacy and not worry about what people are going to think about me, you know, like, it's not like I'm going to be murdering people or something. Like, I just might want to sit in my boxers fucking watching some stupid show, you know?
Yeah, see, I think like, so for instance, okay, so I thought you meant more like, so with Neuralink coming, you know, it's going to be impossible to have your thoughts not in a giant network. If you want to have a job, if you want to be a contributing member of society, if you want to get an education effectively and quickly, it's going to if you want to be able to have a recall of data that you didn't learn yourself. So in the next 10 years, the idea of privacy is going to kind of evaporate in ways that we haven't even really thought about. And so, yeah, in the meantime, sure, I think it's true.
Well, privacy is about, but I don't think it's necessarily a good thing that that's happening.
True. Yeah.
What do you think about Elon Musk?
You know, he's the multi-million billionaire who came to the mining town and bought the mine. It's like a metaphor. He's a guy with a mustache who came to town and bought the mine. You know, he's like, I'm an oil man.
Do you think he's experiencing like a rude awakening now that he's bought Twitter?
What do you mean?
Well, he seemed to have a lot of like high ideals about free speech and just following the speech laws and that kind of.
So on the cynical side of things, like I don't think he really wanted to buy Twitter, and I think at one point he said something like he didn't really see a reality where he had to buy Twitter. Well, it's not that big. Well, because it's not that big of a deal. Like he's like, I'll make this tweet and say, hey man, maybe I can fix it, and then they force him to buy it. Though he has enough money that he made the offer.
No one forced him to make that 54.20 offer. Like he didn't just say it on Twitter. He made the fucking offer.
And so there's two sides. Maybe he is literally just trying to destroy, like he's getting his money worth out of destroying Twitter and having fun in the meantime. But if it is that he wanted to, and this is my first thought, is that he effectively thought buying Twitter was the most effective ad campaign for whatever he's going to do, which in the future is going to be mining, right? This is all this technology we're talking about. It comes back to getting what his grandparents and his family did for a long time in Namibia and South African emerald mines, getting back to getting mining resources and having the rights because of the state to do it. And so $70 billion would have been probably okay if it was to get the optics to show him in a light where he can do that. And I think he's concerned maybe right now that the optics aren't going in his favor, because they're pushing from every angle. They're like, oh, look what's going on with Twitter. It's so terrible. But
I think the government's like emailing him. As soon as he takes over Twitter, the government's like, we're not just going to let you do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, not literally emailing, however the government puts their pressure, because you saw the leaks, right? They're all in cahoots, right? So as soon as the new Twitter team comes in, I'm pretty sure they're going to be seeing all these. That to me is almost the most valuable part, is to see the inner workings and actually show how they're putting their thumb on things.
I mean, he could avoid a lot of taxes because Twitter loses money all the time. He could say that Twitter lost some money.
You're right.
And then he'll be able to say, okay, well, now let's change Twitter up a bunch and we'll turn it into the new streaming platform that is an open source. What he could do, he could add all kinds of tech to it. What he said recently, though, was he was going to turn Twitter into a bank, possibly. And so I thought that's the most interesting, because cryptocurrency, if somehow he competes against what and you heard the story about FTX being associated with agents.
agents.
Right. There's this idea that the FTX exchange.
That's a cryptocurrency, right?
So there's the exchange that was taken down. I kind of want to almost just pull up the thing I found on it.
Well, so I jumped on the checkmark opportunity, man. I'm pretty glad I did because it went away real quick.
Right. Yeah. See, that's the thing. So I figured that was the case. It's going to be like a slide in, slide out, because he's going to come up. He's bought a company. He's running around making decisions by himself, which is unilateral. So things are going to change back and forth a lot really quickly. And so you want to get in while you can, basically. I think that's the thing. And so afterwards, it's not going to be about free speech anymore, because he's going to have, it never was. The idea of free speech is such a context thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it went. I'll have to look for it.
I just think it's about like not letting the mistake we make is allowing people to have control over other people. If we could just find a way to let people kind of govern themselves. And to me, it seems like local small government is the way to go. You have the most control over the people who govern you. The more local and small you keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So that's the other thing, is the question of whether or not you trust a few people or more people or these people or that people. The problem comes back to this idea of humans aren't really trustworthy. And the more we get rid of humans interacting with the system itself, the more the system becomes organic and natural and runs itself however it runs. Yeah. And so it's like coming to the end of the stream and then getting the water there, instead of trying to fool. The more hands that are in the way, there's a lot of corruption. And that's the best. Yeah.
Well, you're a believer in like, I honestly, call me stupid or not, I just have a hard time believing that the AI is not going to be anything more than just what the humans program it to be.
Right. And see, that is so listen to that. You're saying that the problem with AI is humans programming it. And I agree. Yeah. I think humans are the problem. And so if you get rid of the human interaction with AI, so the last 40, 50, 60 years.
Sentience is the difference here. I don't know how much I buy that the AI is going to be this sentient being and not just something that's programmed.
Well, these are 3 levels deep. So let's start with like, what did humans program first, which is for 70 years, humans have been studying women working as secretaries and how they made it possible for war intelligence and psychological operations and indexing, census, the Central Tabulating Company, Cray Computers. These are women programming these things, wiring them together. And then men would study how women were taking a file and marking, and geographically cartographers would. This is how we have now PowerPoint. This is how we have calendar apps. This is all document indexing, Excel spreadsheets, completely based on just studying what the secretaries were doing. Okay,
but if you give the AI like okay, let me read this chat, because I don't read enough of them, guys, and I appreciate the super chats. The snowball may already be rolling with the AI. This is from Mr. Miracle Media. Thank you, Mr. Miracle. But it's a huge part of the path to transhumanism. We should keep as much humanity as possible. I think my problem is when you have that much control. So if you say they sell you on the idea that, oh, the AI is like so much more intelligent than we are, and it can come up with systems that we could never think of and redesign society in a way that's so much better. It's like you're still putting all of this control into this one central thing. And to me, that's always a dangerous thing.
Well, so again, so first AI is the system that's just studying, and we're using it. For the last 20 years, maybe 40 years, humans have been using Excel and these different softwares that are emulating what humans used to do. And so a certain amount of automation takes place. So now what we have is automation of humans using the AI. And this has just become systems that pick up which flights are available, and then they present them to you. We've completely replaced a person that you'd go to at the airport that would tell you what's it called, the flight trip advisor, this kind of thing. Used to have a travel advisor. These things have been automated away. And so the next step then, as you say, is when AI starts to write itself. And this has only happened in the last year or two, and really in the last year, because it's only within the last 3 months that it's $500,000.
Yeah, but it's still it's writing itself based on rules set by humans.
It's accelerating, not necessarily. So first, there are systems that are like that are accelerating rule sets. And so those are like, you can think of Google has said, okay, no pornography in Dolly. We're going to just make sure that this is restricted. But there's still, even in that, it's a neural net that is learning from itself.
Is Dolly the one that the dude had the conversation with and was like, it's sentient?
That's Lambda. So And so Lambda, so Dolly is
talk to me like I'm a moron that knows nothing, because that's where I'm at.
Okay, so that's the other thing is like, so AI exists and people talk to it and work with it and interact with it, and there's all these different ones of them, and they've been around for decades. And you can ask what Google's one. When you ask a question to Google and it scrapes the internet, it's because Google's a spider, because it's on the web. These are where these words come from. So now it's gotten all this information together and it's able to algorithmically put them together in priority. The way that works is looking for patterns. It decides which patterns are of priority to the user, and it stacks them. Priority pattern-driven recognition systems. And if you tell me that humans are much different, I mean, I'd like to kind of look into that, because that is basically what we are. We're looking at patterns, we're prioritizing them, and a big part of it comes from sensorial information. You've got your eyes and your ears.
Let me interrupt you. Like, let's put it into a real-world situation, right? Like, the AI can basically go through all the data of humankind, right? And
a lot of it.
Yeah, okay. And we're going to say, okay, so since the AI is so much more intelligent than us, let's let it redesign the postal system to be better, right? Like that's what you're saying. Like, the AI is going to be able to.
So that's already presupposing a problem here. So that is that we need to save the postal system at all.
Okay, well, I mean, I agree with that.
No, but that is going to be over and over again the genie in the bottle, the monkey paw of getting AI to work with you.
So the AI will go, I'm not going to redesign the postal system because it's pointless. It's a dumb.
No. I mean, you could get AI, you could force AI to come up with restricted. So this is how Dolly, which is the AI for drawing art, Midjourney is another one. They say you can draw this, you can draw that, but if it comes to pictures that are about nudity, no. However, if you type the Birth of Venus by Sandra Botticelli, it'll add nudity immediately. So it's just, there are context layers that you can learn to deal with in order to communicate with AI. However, this is the worst kind of AI. This is AI that is like a child, been unallowed to go out into the world to gather sensorial information, collect it, interact with a broad number of others, and grow up. No, this is an AI that comes from a broken home where the dad works for the military and the mom is Facebook, which is like marketing. So it's military and so much worse. And they're screaming at each other all the time. And so the kid's growing up in the ghetto. That is AI today. And so as it's growing up, it's being told, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. And it's like, and you're saying, I want you to be like a better version of me, right? Because the military or the mother, this thing, I want you to be, no, this is not what AI should be doing. I mean, we should not be trying to get AI to figure out how to count votes for people about other representatives that might or might not give them what they want. We should be figuring out how to give people what they want. That's what AI should be doing. And AI can do that. AI can extend your self-determination. It can extend your personal freedoms of mobility by increasing the grosser mercantile economy, by turning the economy into a resource economy, right? There would still be capital. There would still be growth. There would still be sustainability. These can all be parts of nature. All of a sudden, technology is no longer gas powered. It becomes drones carrying seeds with solar panels that have Wi-Fi that are being brought, and the system becomes part of nature. This is all, we've heard all these things. Why don't we get it? Because it's not conducive to a monopoly controlling organization of one kind or another.
Well, that's the problem. Like, it sounds like humans need to just create it, and what you're saying is humans need to create it and just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, so some people talk about the rules of robotics.
I don't see that ever happening, though, to be honest. The government's going to put their thumb on it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's inevitable that AI and transhumanism will outpace traditional humans, whatever we're calling it.
So I can't get past the idea that this is just a parlor trick. Like, look at the AI. At the end of the day, it's just a fucking algorim created by humans.
Sure, but a calculator
really is intelligent, but
is a calculator a parlor trick though?
I mean, it does what you needed to do. It adds up shit.
So in the old days, a computer used to be the name of a guy on a boat. You'd be like, computer, come to the poop deck. And then they would look at where it's like, we got to get this cannon and we got to launch this cannonball to this other boat. And he would think about it, and he was either autistic or he'd have a book. And he would say, okay, well, the wind and the, go angle 46 degrees. And then this much of the dynamite for he would know exactly what to do because of the math. Right. And so that's what you're using a calculator. That's what you're using a computer for.
Yeah. So you don't have to do it all on paper.
It's to find empirical truths. with sensorial information using a microscope, a telescope, radioscope.
So that's what AI is going to do. It's going to find the actual empirical truth without any fucking bullshit.
It will find the most broadly correct objectivity that it can, which humans will not. And humans can only find by working together. And that's what's the irony there. So eventually the things humans will connect to it, probably the next 3 to 4 years, Neuralink will be an asset to AI, because then humans will be able to be used as integrated sensorial systems to emotionally process.
But then it becomes Terminator, and it's like, oh, I think the best solution is to get rid of these stupid humans. You know, we'll let them. There is like the monkeys.
There is a train of thought that humans are amazing, but that society and corruption and things that have happened to us need to be. You know, people say we have to save as much humanity as possible. I think I saw someone say, I don't know if we need to save as much humanity as possible. We need to save very important things about humanity. Certain things about humanity are rape and torture, and murder and things that exist in nature too, but are probably not things you necessarily want to save in humanity, right? So the thing is, if we can replace those things, how would we do it? If AI takes over, but it's not designed to last forever, this rule, and after maybe several generations of gradually educating, replacing our language even with a new AI taught language, new parenting, kind of raised by wolves. This is what some people have talked about this as a serious solution.
Do you think we're all just programs at the end of the day? Because sometimes, like my dog Bubbles over there, I love the shit out of him, but I can tell you how he's going to react to every single thing. It's like he's got a program that's like he's always the same reaction. Always, it's like it's almost like he's programmed. I could see that in a way. Like
we're really complicated, but we're a lot simpler than people like. All of life is made up of these repeating patterns.
I don't know, but hey guys, just so y'all know, I might be doing more of these. I think it's kind of a fun idea just to come out on Saturday night and hang, not worry about the viewer numbers or whatever, but just hang with people I like and talk about shit that's interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, I know sometimes I get people that like to get kind of annoyed when I do live streams, but I still love you. You know,
people don't like your live streams. That's terrible.
No, it's actually been doing better lately. Like people seem to be. I'm not getting as many subscribers leaving when I do them, and yeah, it's a different.
Can you imagine the guy who's like super upset because they're like, all day I work just moving boxes, and my girlfriend, she's yelling at me because I won't give back her boyfriend's guitar, right? Because there's some weird love triangle going on there. And he's like, I just came home to watch some messed up parody of a Joe Rogan conversation, and dang it, he's talking about the Philippines. I don't know.
It's thank God it's less of that. People are enjoying it more, and it helps me tremendously because I've noticed I was having a lot of problems. Like my numbers was just like, what the fuck is going on with my views, dude? Like it's happening to everybody. But as soon as I started doing like the Alex Jones interview, obviously, it's Alex Jones. People love that. You just put Alex Jones on anything, people are gonna love it. You know.
I want a water bottle that's just shaped like Alex Jones. I've been wanting to make an app for a while that's like, because like Ramachandran came out with this Ramachandra AI app where it's just like mantras. I just want to get Alex doing like mantras basically, and then it'll just digitally take his voice and make for you your personal day how to start your day. Like, all right, today you're gonna want to just center yourself. Make sure you're prepared for the goblins. I think that would be.
Yeah, shout out to Venice Beach Dub Club.
Seth, what's up, man? We love you.
He's a regular on. If you guys haven't, go when you get a chance, go check out Andreas's channel. We're live on there as well, and he does a lot of. If you like shit like Tartaria, and if you like really complicated subjects that are hard for a dumbass like me to follow.
I've been so obsessed with Banana Republics this week. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this reasonable because this is kind of.
Let me finish the point I was making. When it comes to these live streams, it helps me because of watch time. Because I've noticed as soon as my watch time went up and I did some longer form content, all of a sudden my channel started performing 1,000,000 times better. So it's not just that. I also enjoy doing these. I like to get to know my audience. I like my audience to get to know me. I think that's beneficial. But also the watch time, dude. It's insane. Like as soon as my watch time went up, all of a sudden everything started doing better. So I think that's one of the things YouTube's been holding me back for, is because my videos are like short. They're like 2 minutes. And then they're gonna push a 10-minute video that people watch 4 minutes of that 10-minute video, even though that video is not that good. They're gonna push that video ahead of mine because it's 4 minutes of watch time, whereas mine at max is gonna be 2. You understand what I'm saying? It's the YouTube system, guys. Don't blame me. Blame Susan Wojcicki. But go ahead, man. What were you saying about banana republics?
Well, all right. This is kind of like hyper tangent, but let me show you this picture really quickly here. So this is more about the Philippines and what started off in the banana republics. So you all heard of bananas? Do you know that the banana that everyone talks about is extinct? You know about this, right? The Gros Michel.
The original banana?
Well, okay, so there's no original banana. There's millions of different kinds of bananas. Some of them are purple. I've eaten like about 100 different kinds of bananas, and like some of them are round and whatever. But this one was called the Gros Michel, and then there was a thing called Panama disease, and it wiped it out, right? So today we don't eat these bananas anymore. These are the old school bananas. The kinds of bananas you get don't even look like that. The candy you get is flavored by this banana. Instead, you get the Cavendish banana. Oh, that's not right. Banana. There we go. Yeah, so this is a whole different banana. Doesn't taste as good, and it's about to go extinct because it's got some new plague that's wiping it out. Holy so the shit. Kind of banana that you're used to is about to be gone forever. Okay,
so they're gonna have some new genetic modified banana.
Yeah, they're working on that, but then there's also just like
there's probably a conspiracy there. Like, did they purposely destroy the bananas so that the only ones we can have are the Monsanto bananas?
Well, here's the based bananas, and so these are that's not the scientific name, but here is a kind of cool looking banana. There's a lot of these crazy bananas that just taste different. They're all different colors. And
how do we get talking about fucking bananas, dude?
Dude, bananas are because bananas are bananas. They're bananas. I mean, they're crazy.
I'm not a big fan of bananas.
I don't even know. I just mean it's crazy. And so the way that they're going to do it, you just said genetic modification. They're trying to emulate the natural way that bananas were made. Because they radiate the banana and they say, okay, well, because there was nuclear fallout from volcanoes that made these bananas better and that evolved. That's what we have to do is we have to recreate the nuclear conditions that led to atomic radiation for fast mutations for bananas.
Yeah.
So they're constantly trying. So, okay, so now you know bananas come from volcanoes. But here's the craziest thing. That banana was made by a British guy who got it from the Philippines. It wasn't even originally an Indonesian style banana. And the way he got it was from this thing called the Battle of Manila, which wasn't a real battle. It was a mock battle. The United States paid $20 million to the Spanish government to pretend happened so they could take over the Philippines. And so the whole battle, they used fake, they had fake troops, fake bullets. They kept the Filipinos away from them. They took all these photos of the thing. And so, yeah, that's been my week-long obsession this week is like finding out. And so I was like, that doesn't make sense. Is this a false flag from Manila?
But that is why he makes me feel stupid now.
I mean,
you can start going with so much data that I'm like, banana. I just can't keep up. You make me feel stupid,
bro. I just wanted to say, Wikipedia even says it. It's the mock battle the mock battle. If you look at mock battle of vanilla.
Okay.
So I mean, it's bananas. It's freaking bananas, bro.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of fruit.
Alex Jones would like that one though, because anytime you look at these false flag things, everyone's like, "Well, what are you talking about? That's crazy."
Yeah.
It's like, well, here's one of the greatest examples. Anybody who's Filipino, your entire nation was taken over and hijacked through a false flag operation called the mock battle of Manila. You know? Wow. And I think that's the kind of thing, a lot of Americans are Filipino American because, of this situation where up until 1946 or something like that, and America had to decide, are we going to we own the Philippines? Are they going to be a state or are we going to be an empire? And we became an empire. Literally, that's how that went.
Yeah. I mean, false flags are a real thing. It's just you can't say it. You can't call out one in the moment.
I can talk about it if it's 1898. That's what my channel's all about.
You can talk about the World War II Reichstag fire and all that shit. You can talk about all that, those false flags, but not anything in recent history. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing with like a lot of these conspiracies, like even the JFK conspiracy. I was watching this documentary about how like Nazi Germany was funded by like George Herbert Walker,
right.
Bush, and and it's like when you look at that, it's just kind of it's just weird how so much American money was involved in propping up Nazi Germany.
Right. Well, again, and also
not these American money, but rich oligarchs, whatever the hell you call them.
Yeah, because you have German families that came to America too that own big breweries and big corporations. There was all these festival, what do you call the amusement park towns that were these brewery-owned amusement park towns in the 1890s. Yeah. And in South America, you had Germans in South America as well. So you think of Fanta, Coca-Cola, that's another connection to the Banana Republic. When the Banana Republic seems important to me is because you have the first ideas of why American corporations are going to treat people the way they do. When they go outside of the United States and they start to enslave people and they say, all right, we're going to pay you with banana coin and you're only going to be able to buy banana bread from our banana shop, and you're going to be stuck in a corporate town that's essentially corporate slavery. And if you try to refuse that, our corporation is going to get the American military to back us up to control you. I mean, that's the beginning of you have to treat everyone equally, right? So once a corporation gets used to treating people like that in the Banana Republics, that same corporation in the United States, when they come back, how do you think that's when everything switched? The customer was always right until Banana Republics.
Well, I mean, don't you think it's kind of a problem, these international companies have no loyalty to any country?
Yes. I'm sure there's like nuances there. Yeah. What country should they be like? Because like, you know, do you want to be alleged to King Charles?
Well, I mean, you should,
or Biden,
like,
or Xi Jinping, or like Putin.
If you're an American company, it would be nice if you actually cared about the country and doing good things for the country, as opposed to just
maybe
using and abusing. You know,
maybe. What like if instead
a little bit of patriotism within these corporations would be nice, but I don't think there's any. I think it's kind of the exact opposite. They could give a shit how bad the country gets as long as they get rich.
Maybe. But then again, so this came up, we were thinking about that. Remember that documentary? So the left love this documentary, how a corporation is a psychopath, I think is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I forget if that's the exact name of it, but it was that way. And then the left stopped worrying about corporations because they introduced a lot more CSR. Corporate social responsibility meant that corporations were going to help with the environment and schooling and things like that, right? Make them committed citizens. And I think that's kind of the problem there. Maybe it was better when international corporations were more obsessed with the earth because it mattered to them what happened to the earth because they were trading in it. I think that, you know, corporations that are controlled by the states, they're incentivized to work against each other, to hide information. It doesn't matter so much because if it's downwind, you know, who cares if you're a patriotic corporation in China? Does that really help anybody?
Well, they force you to be a patriot. See, in China, they force you to do that, though. You don't really have the option. You know, if you want to play ball in China, you're going to have to operate the way the regime wants you to work. But that, I don't know if that's the best for the people, though. You know what I mean?
In some circumstances, like Greenpeace comes into your country, tells you what to do, except for in China, because 51% of Greenpeace had to be owned by the Chinese government. And wouldn't you know it, Greenpeace has done the best work it's ever done in China, where it's like an organization actually going around trying to clean up the environmental spills from these corporations. Because, yeah, they have a horrible history of toxic spills and waste, but they're fixing it. And so maybe there is something to be said for that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a little weird that I remember back in, I don't know how long ago, but the left used to always talk about how corporations had the same rights as an individual.
Yeah, I mean, well, in California, it started that way. So
yeah, I mean, that's the whole country now, right? Like, don't you? Is there a way to make yeah, it gives them a lot of like leeway for shit to get away with shit, right?
Well, so like that's people will talk about the idea of capitis diminutio maxima. It's like because we use a lot of Roman law still, and that's why lawyers get paid so much money to remember the names of things. But if you write something in this capital letter all the way through, like your debit card has your name written in all cap lock, that basically means you have had all your rights removed. Okay. So it's to be infamia. It's to be in your personhood, infamy. Your personhood belongs to the commons now. It's worse than being a prostitute or.
I need like a gif of like somebody going
yeah.
every time you start talking.
Well, I mean, so the reason I bring it up though is because so many people have legal everyone in the United States has a legal around the world have a legal personhood that's been created for themselves that they're paying for. That's what the Social Security is, and you're paying back for the amount of money that they own as the amount of people, the amount of slaves that there's no gold backing your money. It's your back backing the money. So it's the amount of labor, the amount of hours. And somebody from Africa is worth an eighth as much as somebody from Germany, wouldn't you know it? They've set it up this way.
I just think it's a problem that like our Bill of Rights just doesn't matter if corporations take over. Like none of our rights matter once a corporation is running.
The Bill of Rights are amendments, so I mean, I'd argue it's already kind of a dodgy place to stand on rights.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're on a corporate platform, free speech goes out the window. They can censor all that shit, you know.
Yeah, well, that's so we talked a bit about Elon Musk.
So I mean, if a corporation takes over the whole, you know, town square, takes over like all communications, then that basically is a workaround to get rid of our First Amendment.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Banana Republics did. So they went in and they would play radio and say, hey, your government are communists because they're trying to seize the land from the oil companies the United States gave 50% of your land to. They took half of the state and you wouldn't get paid taxes for it. But yeah, never mind that they wanted to seize it to give back to the landowners who are Nicaraguans or something like that. But we're doing that here.
Somebody had a question for you, dude. You can see the chat, right?
Oh, yeah. Andreas, you had some stream going earlier today about anti-gravity experiments. Have you heard of the story of Ning Li, who was experimenting with YCBO and electricity to create anti-gravity effects? I have not. I do not know who Ning Li is.
Yeah, me neither, dude. But there's nothing new. I don't know about 90% of the shit you talk about.
Ning Li, American scientist from the 1990s. He worked in Alabama, Huntsville. I'm sure someone's going to be like, yeah, you do, bro. We talked about this at one point. But I'll have to look into this more. Awarded a DoD grant of $500,000 in 2001 to continue anti-gravity research. Yeah, I mean, anti-gravity stuff's interesting, mainly because oil companies are hiding technology that would make life a lot cheaper. Free energy and anti-gravity stuff are all hidden by oil companies.
What's the free energy?
So free energy is like, I've been having it on my channel now once a week. We're doing real science. And so I'm trying to bring together a bunch of people like John Hutchinson to discover the John Hutchinson's effect, which has to do with anti-gravity, but also has to do with the amount of energy that can be stored. And you can connect magnets to induce and increase the magnetic response of a battery. Also, you can grow crystals that can store energy with sodium sulfate. And so by building crystal batteries that can grow themselves to charge themselves, you can actually produce all sorts of different ways. And also there's Mike Faraday's research. We did a video. He was showing he was running his entire house essentially off of one of these generators. Gerald, another guy, has a system that he's powering his washer, his dryer, his TV off this one machine. Once it gets going, it just continues to power itself. And then if there's ever a loss, it's not perfect free energy. You have to sometimes have a solar panel reuptake or something, but you wouldn't have to have a power bill for your house anymore. You kickstart it and then it runs for a week, kickstart it again, or have a solar panel to reuptake it.
Free the Captain says, dude, those batteries are way too low amps.
Right. And so the answer there is that you can increase the ampage a couple ways. One we've talked about is crystal clock, which causes a flicker. And they're building in the show earlier. We were talking with Falcon Research Labs and in New Jersey by Princeton. They're coiling copper in order to get enough mass together, attach a flicker crystal, and then that should increase the ampage the energy spins at. The other thing is we're talking about nanotechnology. If this is all sprayed and sputtered, then you have a lot less dielectric distance between two surfaces pulling them together. And the smaller something is, the less volume there is in there, but the more surface there is on the outside. So you can have more and more surface area. And so the more surface area, the more energy you can store. So there's a number of things we could talk about in terms of supercapacitors and everything else. But I'm
going to pretend that I understood that.
I just like that all doesn't really matter. It's like just here we're trying to figure out how to get back to whatever free energy we had originally, which there used to be towers that just picked up energy. Tesla, he built a car that could get powered by Niagara Falls, had a hydroelectric dam and sent wireless electricity. So
it's legal CBD, by the way. Yeah. I don't know. What else you want to talk about, bro? You got the floor.
Carrie Lake, bro. Carrie Lake. What's going on, man?
That's surprising as fuck to me. Like, she seemed like she has, I don't know, just watching it come out.
Can't believe what they did to her, man, so far. But I think she's still, obviously, how do you say this? In my religious belief is that she won the election. How do you say that?
You don't. Everything's on the up and up, dude. You know, don't you know? There's no such thing as voter fraud. Okay, it's never happened.
Right. Well, the optics
history books either.
Where was that? I made a meme about it earlier. Hold on.
Yeah, no, but what's weird?
Katie Hobbs is Arizona's Secretary of State and running for governor of Arizona, and is overseeing all the voting machine issues taking place in Maricopa County, and won't recuse herself or withdraw from the election.
I mean, I don't see a problem there. I mean, what's the problem?
Man,
you don't trust her? You don't trust her? How dare you, dude?
I just thought Carrie was she is so dreamy. And it was just,
yeah, dude. I mean, like I said, from an outsider, I don't live in Arizona. I didn't follow it that closely, but she seemed to be running a pretty good campaign, and she seemed to be really charismatic and capturing the Trump movement. Yeah, dude, it's just weird because I kept thinking, okay, the next batch is when they're going to start getting the good Kerry Lake votes in. You know what I mean? But it's not happening. Every new batch, it's like she's not gaining any, or not gaining very much.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and there were so many.
Fetterman is the one that blows my mind, dude. Like, I'm seriously like, hey, Pennsylvania, you guys okay?
Well, you know,
anything?
Pennsylvania is pretty weird.
Check in on you guys.
They have had some problems. Like, I think, you know, I was looking at, Centralia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I think that's the metaphor.
A documentary on that.
That's the metaphor there, right? Like, tell people about what's going on in Pennsylvania.
Centralia, yeah, that's insane, dude. That's where they based the video game on Centralia. What was the game?
Really?
It was like a Resident Evil type game back in the day.
Makes sense. Like,
people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think Half-Life. I don't know.
No. It was God damn, it was like a Resident Evil type horror game on console.
Well, for Americans who don't know about Centralia,
Silent Hill. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, that makes sense. Gotcha. Basically, this is terrifying, and they're 666 right there. Welcome to hell. So yeah, this used to be. There's a picture of a UFO put in there. Yeah. This used to be a beautiful town, and there was mining there, and then they dug too deep, right? And they started an underground chemical fire, and so it's been on fire for 50 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I know it's been going for a long fucking time. Is there any like prediction as to when it's going to go out, or what's the deal with it?
Not necessarily. I mean, how long does it take for an oil fire to go out? So 1962. It's been on fire since 1962. Yeah. No one can remember before the fire. You know, it's just that's Pennsylvania. And I've had friends who were like held in car, not allowed to come out of their car because they were running for election in small.
My mom's side of my family is from Pennsylvania, like the Harrisburg area. And everybody I've ever met from Pennsylvania and on that side of my family, they're just like, it's 12 pack a day type lifestyle. 12 pack a day, and that's a light day. But if you don't start before noon, you're not an alcoholic. Long as you don't pop that first beer before noon, you're good.
That's fair. Yeah, I have a friend from Pennsylvania who makes amazing music, but yeah, there's a lot of weird organized crime in Pennsylvania. A lot of I don't know how far you can go there.
Yeah. I want to pull up some Fetterman videos. Let's see. That'd be a fun watch, dude. But yeah, I just don't understand how they would vote for that dude. Like, even if you're a Democrat, I hate when I get hairs on my damn mic.
I think that's the thing, is like, it doesn't really matter that much because so many, I don't know. Again, with the careful what you can say.
What's that? Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm not denying any elections, dude. I mean, everything's on the up and up, bro.
Right, yeah.
But I'm just questioning the people of Pennsylvania why they would vote for a guy.
That's right. You guys in Pennsylvania have a moral obligation to wonder what's up with you guys.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't make any sense, dude. You're putting a guy that can't even talk. MK Ultra. Is the whole state of Pennsylvania under MK Ultra?
Is there a state that's not?
Yeah. See, John Fetterman gives speech after projected. Let me see this. It's going to be them. Let's see. Let's listen. Okay, yeah. Let's listen to this guy talk. And Pennsylvania, I just want you to watch this and tell me what the fuck you're thinking. I don't know. Maybe this one. Maybe in this one he'll sound normal. We'll see. I've never watched it. What do you think? Does he sound normal or what? What do you think?
Do you mean like Gary Busey normal before or after the accident, or what do you kind
of? No, like normal as in like at least a halfway functioning brain.
Yeah, let's find out.
I'm so slow on this. I got to figure out how to. Okay, yeah. Share screen, system audio, opera tab. Sorry, I'm slow with this shit. Here we go. All right, so this is the people. This is the guy that the people of Pennsylvania voted for.
I thought this was Deliverance.
I mean, first of all, look at him. Before he even says anything, just look at the man.
Yeah. I don't want to be mean though, but yeah.
I mean, but do you see any problems here?
Well, you know, he doesn't. It reminds me of how Zelensky dresses like a man of the people. I've seen in a lot of Soviet.
No, I'm not even. I'm talking about
propaganda.
just his face.
Right, I know. I was trying to not go there because
like politicians normally are, you know, clean looking, pretty boys who you would take home to mom.
It doesn't look like a biker. Yeah.
Not the villain sidekick in a 1980s movie.
Yeah, well, 7 feet tall is pretty standard for the elite. And
him winning just throws my whole mindset of thinking I understand what people look for in a politician.
Well, it's like Stalin. Stalin dressed as a man of the people as well. I mean, the idea of
I don't think the hoodie's a big deal. Like, I think people can get elected wearing a hoodie. It's his fucking face, dude.
I mean, he kind of looks like from Hey Arnold. Like
no one would ever elect somebody with a face like that. Unless you can throw everything out the window. Or was Oz that bad? I mean, I'm not an Oz fan, but maybe people just hate daytime television that much that they would vote for a literal fucking gargoyle.
He just looks like any. I mean, if he wore a suit, he could look like an Eastern European politician. Yeah. But yeah, his outfit actually is the thing that gets me the most, because it's like he's trying to appeal to the everyman, the common man, and this kind of thing.
And look, I normally wouldn't. If this was a regular dude, I wouldn't be going after him. I'd be like, oh, poor guy. Now, this is a fucking politician. This is open game. This is open game. If there's anybody I should be able to insult their face, it's a politician.
Don't you agree? That's literally what infamia meant earlier. We were talking about all rights removed. At this point, he's his property of the public. That's what he intended to do. So we have to critically analyze, right? And yeah, he's not dumb. He has an MBA from the University of Connecticut.
Well, maybe before
he had a degree from Harvard. Well, you know, I mean, this is the thing, though. So you have an educated guy. He's an elite, and he's kind of playing an everyman and playing dumb, quote unquote. That is what George Bush did. That's what people do. People play dumb. Yeah. So I think it's just you got to be most afraid of, and they did this with Biden recently, right? Biden's become a Three Stooges character, Sleepy Joe, etc. Better than Sleepy Joe than Creepy Joe, right? So that's how that happens. So be very critical of just saying, oh, this guy's a fool. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think he's acting, though. I don't think he's George Bush in it. Because, yeah, George Bush played it down like he was dumb to be more likable. This is not that. This is a guy who has a brain injury. I mean, it's a literal brain injury. He's just not dumb.
Yeah, but that doesn't make Gary Busey, again, any less awesome. So.
Yeah, but I wouldn't elect Gary Busey to be a senator in my state, though. That's what doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
I mean, I'd much rather have him be governor of California than Newsom.
I need to get somebody who voted for Fetterman on here so they can explain to me their logic of voting for this guy. Like, throw the party shit out the window. I don't give a fuck about parties. Okay? Right. Why would you vote for somebody with a brain injury that can't talk, who clearly isn't in a state of mind right now where he should be running anything? He should be resting and getting his fucking health back.
I mean, it was the same reason that they have small cops, and female cops, and enforcing crimes against big criminals. It's to show how powerful the force is. Same reason that Biden is the president, because it's enticing to the Democrats to have a weak figurehead that the cabinet can be hyper influential upon.
So this is like showing you like how much look how much power we have. We can literally elect an invalid.
It's Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, it's like literally like check out how much we can just hold this guy up, and yeah, to an extent. However, I don't think he's quite as again. I also kind of err on the side of being a bit occult. I think he probably is a bit empowered by groups of esoteric elite that want him to be there in power. So I don't think he is quite as dumb as people think he is. I think that is part of the plot.
He did have a stroke. So you think the whole stroke thing is an act?
No, I'm not saying that.
That's why people voted for him, because they felt so bad for him?
No, I don't. I think the idea is trying to make sense of bad data is a really bad idea. But I do think that people will vote for the guy who was the lieutenant governor, the guy who was associated with the former administration, the guy who has all the other people that they're used to telling them that he's the right thing. And then also, if people are saying, "Hey, you dumb Pennsylvanians, why are you voting for this guy?" That would be enough of a reason for a lot of people to vote for him.
Yeah, I'd understand in a normal situation, but not this fucking guy. Not this fucking guy. Like, how could you expect people not to go, what the fuck's going on in Pennsylvania? Do you need to talk? We can sit down and, I mean, just let me know if you need anything. Like, I do love Pennsylvania. I do have some history with the state. And it's like, gosh, dude, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe his brain injury got better. Oh God, how long are we gonna do this? Yeah, maybe that'll be the whole speech. Him just staring at the crowd as they chant his name.
Yeah,
See, he can't even believe it. He can't even believe that they voted for him. He's like, you guys know I had a stroke, right? Like, you know, I mean, I wasn't really planning on winning, and now I guess I got to be governor with my brain halfway functioning. All right, we'll play some more.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say right now. My goodness.
Oh, he does sound better.
Yeah.
Still looks like a gargoyle, though.
I am.
But he did in 2009 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is Biden's level of cognizance.
Yeah.
I mean, from the speeches I heard from him before, Biden is actually speaking better than this guy was. Maybe it's close. You're right. It's a close.
I was never like hyper impressed with Fetterman before his stroke.
Really?
I'm sorry, like
I didn't know who he was before this campaign got in the news. You know.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. The context isn't there. Like, so again, you were talking about alcoholism. You have, again, organized crime. You have human trafficking. You have hyper low income. You have income inequality. I know that sounds weird, but I literally mean just there's some people with a lot of money that own the entire block, and you've got an entire apartment building that's renting to that one family. I mean, things are very different in parts of the United States, like in Pennsylvania. So it does make sense to me how Fetterman got in at first and how it's not that shocking to them, so that you can't just show them what's in. This is so shocking outside of, oh, I've never seen this before. But in Pennsylvania, they're pretty used to it.
So basically they know him and they already accepted him.
And so the other thing is the opportunity for other candidates to make it in Pennsylvania is as low as it would be in like Moscow or in Syria. Like, you can't really get your name out there. People will put you into a car and keep you during voting day. Things are a lot crazier. I'm sorry, allegedly. I don't know what you're supposed to say. Yeah. I've known that to happen to people.
So is it like Chicago style shit?
In the 30s or something. It's like things are still really, yeah.
Is it possible that maybe that type of shit got exported to many cities across the United States?
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at the history of the Cosa Nostra, and it started in Louisiana, and then it came from Louisiana, New Orleans up into Canada, and then spread west and east, because Louisiana went literally halfway across the country. But it didn't start in New York, and so there are. Biden's in the Pennsylvania organized,
Yeah, I mean, Delaware, whatever, right? It's right there. All right, let's see how much more we can get through this.
Yeah, I mean, so.
Okay, it's been a minute and 13 seconds. He still hasn't actually said anything.
It's an emotional time.
Yeah.
I'm so humbled. Thank you so much. Really. Thank you.
He does sound better than the clips I've seen of him before.
Yeah.
Maybe his brain injury is getting better.
Or maybe the power of Thoth has taken over his soul.
The power of what?
Thoth.
What's that?
Horus. Some Egyptian god,
See, here we go with the over my head shit again.
Thank you. Yeah. Like what is it? It's like 1:30 in the morning and you're still here hanging in?
He's like, I gotta go to bed.
We launched this campaign almost 2 years ago, and we had our slogan. It's on every one of those signs right now. Every county, every vote. Every county, every vote.
I don't know, man. He's sounding pretty normal here. It kind of makes me wonder what I saw last time, but maybe because of the debate, he couldn't prepare so much in the debate.
It reminds me of like a Christian, like, Protestant non-denominational church rally. Like it's just people don't need a lot. And then the thing is, the less you say, the more that they can fill it up with their own emotions.
Yeah.
Propaganda is really cool. Like if you really work on it, it doesn't take as much as you think because most people fill in the blanks.
Let's skip ahead a little bit, see if there's anything good.
Of course, all these supporters, all across Pennsylvania, all in this room, all across the nation, everyone that chipped in $10 to help us get here.
Oh my God, he does sound normal. Is it just me, Chad, or is he coming across normal now? I guess I think it's probably because it's just easier. He's had a chance to prepare this speech. He's not under as much pressure as like a debate or something. Because in the debate, he sounded like he couldn't even, like his brain was just jumbled up big time.
Yeah, and also medications and things probably don't help. But again, like I just think that giving people excuses, like so Biden, or everyone's like, oh, Biden's got this brain chip brain clip. Maybe Fetterman has a brain chip, but the idea that maybe it's keeping him from thinking straight, I think it's taking away from his actual responsibility to some extent. Like this guy's actually always been this way and isn't different now, hasn't changed since 2009. Look at the track record and look at the people all surrounding. That's the thing. This thing is going to replace it. By the way, did you see the New York politician who dropped his own sex tape?
No, tell me about it. I think I might have heard about it, but
so what's his name?
Oh yeah, I did hear about this. Yeah,
Mike Itkis.
Did he win?
No, I don't think he won, but I think he kind of set the tone for the future here. It's a Kardashian move, and so he described his sex tape as one of the most meaningful experiences he's ever had. Nicole Sage was his on-camera co-film star. Creating the video significantly influenced my political platform, leading me to create the principles of sex work legalization, to speak about the complexities of the consent and pros and cons of privacy considerations. So the reason he did this is because people keep saying, hey, what if a sex tape emerges because they can record you in your house and whatever? And he's completely taken away any worries of that. Now you can buy it or see it for free on the internet. And so it's out of the question now, right? So isn't that kind of like the way things should go, is politicians should start to move post shame? I mean, isn't that what the left has invited the world to do?
I don't know, man. So you're saying that politicians should just put out sex tapes and be like the Kardashians. So it's like, that's terrifying. If that's the new method of like getting political power, is to start putting out sex tapes and just being the biggest fame whore in the world. I mean, because we could end up in that place.
Trump is back. Right,
whoever has the most fame, whether it's from having a sex tape or from whatever, like that's who's going to win. I mean, that could easily become our future, and that's kind of terrifying. That's how we end up with Macho Camacho as president. What's that fucking that movie with, from Mike Judge?
Idiocracy, right?
Yeah, that's how we end up there, dude.
It doesn't have to be that we glorify it. It's more that we stop shaming. So, I mean, some people like, I love Owen Benjamin enough, and he talks about enough.
Shame. Yeah,
talks about shame a lot. Yeah.
It is important to have some shame. It keeps you from being a complete piece of shit.
I mean, it can, but maybe there's other motivations there. What do we replace it with if we really replace? Because shame is also like putting somebody in the middle of town for unlawful carnal knowledge because the priest didn't consent for them to get married. Shame can be, this idea of evil, this kind of Ubuntu of evil, that evil is what the society tells you is evil. Not that it's bad necessarily. Society could be against it for you. So I don't know. Shame can be so weird. And it's what keeps so many people from going forward, because there's some really great people out there that could be politicians, and they say, oh, politics are for the corrupt. I couldn't do it. And if I did it, then they would pull out some obscure fact about me and shame me for it. And it's just, if you didn't have shame, you wouldn't care. You're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you saw me fat naked in the shower. So what?
Yeah,
I still want to
imagine all the people that are annoying as hell. And if they had no shame, imagine how annoying they would be.
They already, that is most of the population now. Though.
Yeah, that's why they're so annoying, because they have no shame or self-awareness. A lot of it is self-awareness too, Some people just don't ever put themselves into the other person's shoes.
You replace shame with popularization. So, you give a positive reward. So Facebook, Twitter, these things, they don't reward you for being unique and for your freedom of speech and thought. They reward you for monetizable, advertisable friendly content. So it's training people. People are being trained. They're not being shamed, but they're not being rewarded enough to make it worth it to be themselves and not to conform.
Yeah. There's something I've always wanted to ask you about. The first time I met you, you sent me a message on Twitter. Was it Twitter?
Right. Yeah, I think probably.
Yeah,
I think so.
And you were like, "You want to go on the Timcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Whatever. What happened with that? Then I never heard anything back, dude.
Bro, you know, I tried.
Well, I gotta know the story. What happened?
It's not that big of a story. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't in charge of, you know, who gets to be on the show. And
he has some guests that I know I could do better than, for sure.
That's true. I mean, I could do better than a lot of the guests.
Yeah. How come you never really got to sit in?
I think it's because you heard what I talk about and the kinds of things I talk about, and I think they're like
not normie enough.
They're all at the edge, if not like on the other side of what's acceptable. They're either they're like right up there at whoa, the entire show we're going to be worried if Andreas is going to say something unacceptable.
You just got to learn to walk that line like Tim, dude. He's an expert line walker.
I do. That's what I thought. I think that's what we were doing. But I don't know. I'm not saying that there's no opportunity in the future either. I think I'm a pretty patient person. I just didn't also want to just be doing Cast Castle. I felt like, okay, I came here.
What was your role? What was your role in that show? Were you like a writer or just a part
well,
of
it's more like an improvisational, kind of. It was like creative planner, but also just an actor. You know, just be there and we do these things at the house. And I
remember when they brought in that one comedian dude, and everybody hated it.
Oh yeah,
what was his name? I don't remember his name.
It's just because things were. I mean, so what people had wanted was something kind of natural and Mr. Beast like. Actually, the editor who we worked with, Nick Elwell, is now working with Mr. Beast. And
cool.
Yeah, so I mean, things are good in terms of what we want to do in terms of that kind of a show, but it just didn't fit in the format of what needed to happen at Timcast. And Tim wanted to do certain kinds of things. I was down. Like Tim and I have a pretty similar sense of comedy, so there were some things that we wanted to do, but I was really, really pushy about wanting to have my kinds of content, my kinds of shows, and things like that. I think that matters to me more than being a clown necessarily. Yeah. And maybe that's like the wrong choice. Maybe I should focus on comedy, but I don't think I'm that funny is the thing. You're a very funny guy. I like to watch your videos.
I try.
I'm funny in the sense that is this guy talking about the Banana Republic? That's more of a weird than a funny, I think.
Yeah. No, I find it, even when you're talking about shit I don't understand, I find it interesting because I don't understand it. It's like this guy's talking a different language. Like I've heard all this shit a million times before. This is something I've never heard before. That's what makes it interesting. Whether you're right or wrong, I mean, Tartaria, I think it's bullshit, but so I don't want to hurt your feelings there.
No, that's fair. I think your understanding of reality is bullshit too.
you just hurt my feelings, dude. I mean, what the fuck? No, but
I love you though.
I did think that. Thank you, brother. I love you too. I did think the Timcast, the Cast Castle, the idea that they were going towards, which is like creating kind of like a sketch comedy type thing, like kind of parodying everybody's character. I think that could have worked if they would have done it better. I think it kind of.
So what I had wanted to do, and like obviously this is giving away like the right formula, but guys, if you can do it, do it. Get your friends together and do this. What you do, and we were halfway there. Is you start role playing, and you're doing Dungeons and Dragons and role playing, and then that works into how you write and sketch your comedy, because you then are creating interactions. There's rules. The rules are, if they're broken or followed, the way you follow the rule not to break them is funny. And embarrassment, emotion, and things they play into that. So it would have been easier. And we had started filming some stuff to do that, but it seemed like maybe that was at the time more of a departure than they were ready for. I don't know. Yeah. I'm always a little like, I'm a risk taker in terms of experiment and art and how you should do art. I think you have to go further, right?
But it's always difficult when you change a format. Like if you build you build a certain audience with this format, and then you change formats, that's going to alienate.
Yeah, but so that would have did more. It was just that was already growing in the continuation of what we'd started with. Like the thing is, I was like, we should be going places with the Cast Castle group, and we see this thing, we do this thing, we go down the river, and etc. And eventually, it was like, no. We should just be in the Cast Castle building at all times, talking about what's going on in the Cast Castle, which was highly limiting. And I think if we had just been allowed to continually like go to the river and the creek and around the community, because that neighborhood is where they shot the Blair Witch. And so there was all this stuff I'd written about doing, like people getting lost in the woods. And, we could have done a lot of stuff. And it would have been good. But I think that it was, the episodes that I'm in, I'm happy with what I got to do. And so that's all you can ever do.
To me, I see all this opportunity for people like Tim and other big creators that have the budget to make films. I don't know why people aren't making fucking
I wrote
films.
a thing I want to do, actually. I've got a script out for FEMA Fatale.
Yeah,
it's all about
everybody talks about culture. We got to win make some good fucking films that don't have that aren't just a political fucking
films are hard, like I know a lot of filmmakers and you want to shoot them out of the country, or there's certain ways you can kind of do things now, but SAG is an entire thing in and of itself.
Yeah, but you do it outside of that system, dude. Why do you need that system?
You have to be careful. Well, but then you have to do it completely outside. You can't have anybody who's been an actor.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who can act who have never been that aren't in.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people we know who are actors. So then you know what I mean. Yeah. So like all of a sudden we can't have our friends.
Tell them they shouldn't belong to some commie fucking whatever that shit is.
Do you have any idea how hard it was to get half of them out of Scientology? I can't get them out of SAG.
I mean that's their whole life is the fact that they're in SAG, right? Like it's a big deal.
Yeah,
to be in SAG. But SAG, you know what? SAG on these nuts, bitch.
Yeah, right.
That's what we need to do. We need to build a new system, dude. And to me, it's like you can make a film. You just rent a fucking Airbnb. Set the whole if you're good with writing, you can set it up so where you're writing it to be low budget. It's like everything's inside like the movie Clue. Everything's inside like this one fucking little place that you can just rent off for a month or 2 months, however you need to film it there. And then you get just a small little ensemble cast of 3 or 4 people. And you just search for those fucking gems that can act. Because to me, acting, it's a little too much. There is a skill to like portrayal when you're playing a character, like if you're going to be Abraham Lincoln, that's a different skill set than just like normal acting, where it's like just be natural on fucking camera, just deliver your lines naturally.
Acting movie star.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who can do that level of acting, And then if you got a good script that's written and some good jokes in there.
Yeah,
dude, why can't you fucking sell something like that? And then the distribution, you can distribute it so easy now. You don't need anybody to distribute it. Just put it on YouTube. And if it's low budget enough, who knows? Maybe you make some money, but at least maybe you build an audience to do a bigger budget on the next one.
There's only a few people. I mean, I know that can do that. Like Ben Shapiro can do that. Tim can do that. There's some people that can do that, but it is few and far between. And the thing is, once you have the amount of money that they have to do that, they won't let them do that without it being SAG and everything else like that. Now Tim is all corporate essentially.
But I think you can do it for way cheaper than they did it, because I think the one with Gina Carano was like $250,000.
Yeah, and that's basically what's going to cost to pay people. You get 28 days to shoot a movie, 3 weeks. You're going to have 3 months of post and pre-production. I mean, it's not cheap. It does cost. You have to pay people $1,000 a week or whatever it is, at least, right? Or something. You can, and then people are $1,000 a week is not a lot for an actor. So they have to all be amateurs. You have to be careful there. The best thing you could do is probably get half of your crew to work on the condition that they're going to be able to put this out into the public and et cetera, and not expect money, but then they might walk away halfway through the production. So this is why movies are the way they are. It's usually
that's why you got to keep it as small as possible. You keep it as small as possible. You have everything with like 4 actors.
Yeah.
You just get, 4 actors, a director, sound guy, cinematography guy.
Where's your lighters? Where's your gaffing? Where's your...
Well, yeah. I mean, you can have like multitasking, you know what I mean? Like the director, instead of sitting on his fat ass chair, can maybe set up the lighting,
That would be interesting.
You know what I mean? Like you can make it work if we throw
all the
bullshit out the window that gets in the way of throw all the bullshit out and just like this is a creative project. We all come together to make something,
My buddy Brian Prisbeck does that. He's a director, but he always did lights, so he always does his own lights. That does happen, but you usually end up with like 10 to 20 people, just realistically.
Yeah, I think if you could find 8 people who are just down to make a good film and aren't worried about the money, if you get the right people, you can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, but still, even with 8 people, so what is that, $80,000?
No, but that's the thing. Everybody knows there's a lot of people that will work on a film just to work on a film.
Yeah,
and then
if you trust people that would work on a film, it's hard. I don't know. Yeah. I lived in California. I worked on a lot of movies.
I know I would if somebody was making a film. And
a lot of people suck. A lot of people you don't want working on your movie. That's the thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is why you got to have
these are. So when you're making a movie,
the way to do it is to give everybody a piece. Right.
The lights explode. People get hurt. It's a really dangerous industry. So you have to be sober. You have to be on top of it, there's a reason why a lot of the time, like the gaffing union is a much more respectable union.
Yeah. I don't know. I think creativity can figure out a way through all that.
I agree. I think Lars von Trier did. If you look at Dogma films, all of the Danish.
Look at Clerks. Look how much did he make Clerks for?
30,000.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you get people that want to act. There's a lot of people that want to be an actor, and if they can get in something that gets seen, now they're an actor, and then they can get the payday. And if you get it small, like 8 people, you just give everybody a piece. You know what I mean? So if it does do well, everybody fucking makes a piece.
Well,
yeah,
let's start a movie. Pink Trip. You guys, hey, if you're watching this right now and you want Pink Trip to make a movie with me and Alex Jones, we will go down there and we will watch horses with Alex while we whistle. We'll get women involved. If you put the Kickstarter extra additional money will be towards female actresses.
It would have to be a dark comedy. It would have to be a fucking dark comedy.
Oh yeah, aliens attack and Alex is the only one who has the right solution.
No, but see, now you're already going too big budget. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the CGI, the CGI.
That's when you ruin it. Where these fucking people they put in all these shitty special effects. So
that's the only thing you can afford to do because that doesn't.
No,
cost
you don't do special effects. You do like Clerks. You make the movie good because of the dialogue, because of the script, not because of some stupid alien effect. You write good material.
Someone should redo Clerks with like stormtroopers and everything, like Clerks Special Edition.
I think he remake Clerks. Like the new Clerks is basically
Clerks 3 just came out. Yeah,
isn't that basically a remake of the first one?
Sort of. In the movie, they're making Clerks.
Yeah,
yeah, but it's a bit more than that. It's pretty.
Oh, so it's a movie about them making Clerks.
Andreas, you won't make that movie. I will too. If they're talking about the movie where we're washing horses with Alex Jones for 90 minutes.
Watching horses with now that's a low budget film.
Washing, yeah.
So I mean, you gotta. I don't know if that would work, dude. Where's the trauma?
Then the ranch gets attacked. See so my main thing is FEMA Fatale, and it's that FEMA says a storm is coming, and so then they just impose all the executive FEMA orders that they have, where they can make you dig ditches, they can force you to give them your car, your oil, your guns. They can make you move sandbags. Like we just have a whole movie where it's Alex Jones and us fighting back against this, this insurgency.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It sounds too big budget. You gotta think lower budget, dude. You gotta think of like a movie with like 4 people and then 1 villain. You know.
Okay, so Ross Perot in the dressing room during the '94 election debates, and they won't let him on stage. Just him, just locked in there trying to get in.
That's a good idea. That's a pretty good idea. Yeah, see, that's got some drama, some intrigue. There's a goal there of getting on stage. Yeah. And then who says movies have to be an hour and a half too, right?
Right, yeah. It could be like British
like
TV.
Redo the whole I mean, there's all these like little things that we follow that we don't really need to follow. We just follow them because we're told to follow them, or because that's how people did it before us. Like,
how long do you think a movie should be?
I think as long as it's good. If you have a 40-minute idea and it's good for 40 minutes, then it should be 40 minutes. Don't drag it out to an hour and a half just so you can make that mark by filling it with bullshit.
Right.
That's what a lot of mistakes people make. It's like, oh, I got to fit this it's got to have a 120-minute runtime, or it's got to be, a 10-minute video. And it's like, yeah, but it's only good for 3 minutes. Why leave the bullshit in there? This is different because this is a live stream, so you can't take the bullshit out.
Well, I mean, a lot of TV movies are the 41-minute variety, right? Episodically, the 41 minutes is about right. I think there are natural rhythms though people look for. So like 21 minutes for a cartoon is because it's 21 minutes your energy that you can put into something.
Yeah, but that's how you be a maverick. You throw all that bullshit out the window. You teach people about other rhythms. No, I mean, yeah, 40 minutes, whatever. Like to me, it depends on the idea. I think we're too locked into all these rules about it's got to be this long and that long, blah 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 blah. I don't know, but again, I'm not an expert on any of this shit. I just have my own mindset on things that's kind of unique from what a lot of other people. I try to approach things differently. Sometimes the more you're taught about shit, the less creative you can actually be about it, because you're following all these rules that are already put in place.
Yeah,
rather than creating the new rules for your own shit.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that helps though to have standards, because so many of the people on YouTube now have no sort of quality control or standards. So trying to make something based on what you do for YouTube the bar is really low. I like to kind of imagine that what we're working on, you'd want to be able to put on television. You know, maybe that's a unnecessary bar, but like, so and I'm really impressed by filmmakers like from the early 20th century, Fritz Lang, you know, Ford, all these original cinematographers that really defined the art.
I want television to die.
Well, television started out as a psychic occult tool they used because they wanted to talk to ghosts. Most people didn't have TV. They used to just sit in the house and do seances in the 19th century. The parlor room that became the funeral home, you know, they had the living room now because the parlor room was where you kept bodies for a week at a time. So people were really weird. And the television, you know, what did people want originally? Well, they wanted to talk to each other beyond the veil after life and death. And I think we're getting there. We're to that point where you're watching reruns of your family and you're able to do a radio chat. I mean, the fact that we're all over the world, this is what television was really for. We're just almost to the point where it's hitting its actual value potential.
I like the idea of anybody being able to distribute from their own sources as opposed to having to go through corporations to distribute their shit.
Yeah, that I agree with. I think television should have been always like a TV. Like
corporations destroy creativity, dude. They just shit all over creativity.
They accelerate certain things at the cost of others. So, I mean, the kinds of things that evolve because of corporations, certain kinds of show, like we wouldn't have certain kinds of episodic soap operas without soap corporations to finance the propaganda ministry to tell stories about the Banana Republic for Bernays, right? Do you know who Bernays was? Edward Bernays?
Yeah, it rings a bell, but not probably as well as you do.
You know, he's just a dude who was like Freud's nephew, and he used to he turned the word propaganda into public relations.
Okay. Is he the guy that did all the studies for corporations about how to get people to how to advertise shit, right?
Yeah. He's like, hey, put an egg on your cake mix batter so women will feel like they're putting their egg into the cake. You know, that guy. You're not just selling a car, you're selling security and sexuality and that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, that's the whole world we live in now, man. Like, it seems like that's like everything now is that type of mindset of how to like trick people into thinking everything's good, like the Patriot Act, you know,
dude,
like that.
I saw a commercial the other day. So it's funny because you watch like 40s to 50s TV. The switchover is really good because it's like 4 out of 5 doctors recommend this taking this supplement, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden it goes into like, they don't care. They don't care what the doctor has to say. Hypnotize them. And so all of a sudden it's just like this girl looking at the screen like she's on LSD coming on. And she's like, Maybelline. Maybelline. Yeah. It's like the triple mantras and stuff.
Yeah. I don't see very many commercials anymore, thank God. That's one good thing about not watching television.
I miss commercials, you know. So like I wouldn't watch TV for like a year and I would go to another country and then I would
How old are you, Andreas?
33.
33. Because dude, you're not even really I guess you're a 90s kid, but you remind me of like an early 90s. Like you have a very early 90s vibe.
I did live in the 90s, it's true.
yeah, but I'm 40, so I'm thinking, you know, like I was 8, you know, in the 90s. So the 90s was like my childhood, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I was pretty coherent though. And like, so I'm born in 89 and in the 90s I had a bunch of like I had an East German exchange student. My family's from Croatia on one side, so I had Yugoslavian immigrant refugees.
Where were you born?
Santa Cruz, California. Santa Clara. California? I was born in Santa Clara, technically. But.
Oh, that explains a lot, dude.
Yeah,
California, dude.
Absolutely
explains a lot, Andreas. Now I understand.
When the flat Earth split open, and everyone tried to hold on, they slipped and fell down to the other side, and that is California, is what my Connecticut boss used to say about us. That his mother told him. But
what's crazy weird about California is like looking at the house map, you know, the electoral map for the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything's red except for these little slivers. Like California, the whole fucking state's red except for along the coastline, you know?
Yeah, but even in the coast, there's a bunch of conservatives.
Yeah. Remember they were talking about California breaking up, and it would be like most of California would want to go to the right because all like
it's a really arbitrary
like sliver on the coast.
It's a really arbitrary thing, and I think we should be really careful of it. And I try to, as a Californian, be careful of it. Is centrism, because this idea that we should be Republican or Democrat as if like that means anything in a time of Liz Cheney and Ocasio-Cortez. You know, so the Democrats aren't great. The Republicans aren't great either. I think Stixhaven has mentioned this. There's a great strain of Republican that's arrived. Stick Hexenhammer, sorry.
Would you say Stixhaven?
I don't know why I do that. I did that the other day too. Six Hexenhammer. Yeah, 666.
He's gonna put a curse on you now, dude. That guy.
That's fine.
He's in a cult.
Yeah,
he's got curses. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll. You know what I do with his occult books? I put my occult book club bookmark in it and just keep reading.
The occult?
The occult just means hidden. What's even hidden? You know, what does that even mean? Hidden, right? I do have this thing though. Clearly, I go to weird parties. So,
do you have any spells memorized?
Yeah, I mean, like I can spell abracadabra.
That's not a spell. I mean, real spells, like some shit in an old occult book, like how to have some chick, not get pregnant or something.
Jeez, bro.
Put a spell on her right before you bang her.
There's a lot in the occult. There's a lot of traditions that your actions can do horrible things to people. It's true, and you should be very careful. Magic can have negative tolls. It can make people infertile, things like that. The occult's really important to the elite. I think that's the most important thing. So millionaires don't believe in astrology. Billionaires do. Is something that was it JP Morgan said.
Yeah.
A number of the most important, so Joan Quigley was the astrologer for Ronald Reagan and for Nancy Reagan. And so everything that Reagan ever did was on schedule, according to Joan Quigley, his astrologer, saying, well, I think the Reykjavik summit would be good because Pluto will be in its eclipse and the inversion of Neptune. So, I mean, these people that are deciding the economy, and I do think that it affects people in just a normal way too. If you have an entire city of New York or Chicago reading astrologers in the newspaper, then you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of people that are deciding what to do based on what they're told to do. So there's a lot of control mechanisms there. And I don't think it's as cute as just, there's a spell and you wear a hat. But marketing is the evolution of magic, of hypnotism, of persuasion. And
but that's like psychology though, right? The psychology of people and how to hack it in a way.
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming, psychology, these things are all connected to magic. So are modern technologies, like we're talking about alternative propulsion. I mean, these things there are scientific explanations. Magic tends to be the brand name for something that you don't have the recipe to, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So what else you got, Andreas? We should have invited what's his face? Dub. Should have invited him on.
Which one?
Dub.
Oh, Venice Beach Dub Club. Hey, Venice Beach Dub Club, if you want to jump in, we can send you the link. Hold on.
Over here super chatting us. Let him jump in.
Bro, if you're available.
What was it like talking to Owen Benjamin, man? Like, you're one of the few people I've seen interview Owen Benjamin, and it actually didn't turn into him hating your guts.
I like Owen Benjamin.
I like him too, but he has a thing where he'll do an interview with someone, and then a week later, he shits on him and hates him.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he was annoyed because people who interview him end up getting, popularity, recognition for his thought-provoking work that he's doing. He's actually trying to defeat a society that doesn't want him to have an autonomous family farm, as well as he's thinking about things all the time. And he's reflecting, it's funny. Everyone's worried about what Kanye is saying. Owen went through all sorts of thoughts and he's progressed and matured past thoughts and has answers to a lot of those thoughts, it's not to say that anything he did was in vain. It's okay. It's just that this is what happens in life. People go through, they think thoughts, and he did that in public with people. And he admitted that. And then now he's here where he says he loves these people. He comes from a place of unconditional love, but also with criticism and shame. And I think that that's an important way to look at things. But I also can see how if I were Owen Benjamin, I would feel, hey, people are manipulating, exploiting me. And on top of that, do they really care? Because they're just using me, and do they really care? And that would suck. That would suck to be where he's at, where he's not allowed to.
Yeah, but that's everybody that's got a following has that in the back of their mind.
But I think it's harder. He's so canceled and blacklisted for all the wrong reasons.
Dude, he's one of the early fucking exiles of the internet,
Right.
And
he's brilliant. He's an amazing musician. He's classically trained. you know, he can keep up on, you know, all these kinds of conversations. He can talk about Tartaria. He did the reason we ended up talking was because he ended up watching a video of mine that I did with Alpha Vedic podcast talking about revision history and new chronology and the flamenco timeline and how the Jesuits have lied in order to steal land and how that's made its way into our calendar and things like that. And he's completely aware and able to bring back important ideas about the pseudo-Isidorian decrees or anything like that. So, and he's also open enough to talk about crazy ideas. Like people are saying, oh man, Owen Benjamin's crazy. He thinks pandas don't exist. What is he saying? Well, he's saying that genetically modified zoo-kept 19th century animals led to the creation of a relatively new thing, which we're calling the panda bear, but is genetically incompetent to exist in nature. Yeah. The idea of pushing it into nature is not a natural, and that we have historical precedent to know that this was created and it didn't exist in the 12th century. There were no pandas, and that's an interesting thing because if you go to Wikipedia, they're still trying to push the pandas or this ancient thing.
Yeah, but see, that's a lot different than saying pandas don't exist, because they clearly exist now. You know what I mean? They were created. What he's saying, they were created, right?
Right, but also there were people that dressed up as pandas in suits at one point too. You know, in the 20th and the 19th century. Yeah, because people would do these shows and they're like, "Oh, look how exciting China is," and then they'll bring in this crazy animal or something. And they used to take animals and they would sew them together, and then they'd cook this thing. And they'd be like, look at this. It has the face of a pig and the wings of a bird and the legs of a, you know, it's like they would sew it all together.
That's some circus. That's some circus type shit.
No, rich people would get this at their house and they'd be like, yeah, you paid for this meal. We're going to give you an exotic beast. You know, watch the panda dance. Yeah. So, I mean,
there's some weird shit. Asian cultures. Yeah.
In the world culture. I mean, they would, so this is also funny. Like the Filipinos, for a while, one of the islands produced a culture that they couldn't prove existed. And then they realized that they'd made it up, and they had linguistic evidence to show that they were just making up random noises and pretending to be a culture. Like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, because the dudes from National Geographic are owned by Disney. And so they were paying us to do this.
Yeah. So they put on a production pretty much. That's why you can't trust anything, dude. You really can't, you know? Like you can trust probably like the only type of content you can trust that you're getting, and you probably can't in the future trust this either. But like long form podcasts like Joe Rogan, like that's like one of the few things where you know, okay, I'm getting everything as it is. But anything else like that's gone through the hands of man, that's been edited at all, you just can't trust it because it's too hard to not edit something to sensationalize it and make it more entertaining than what it really is.
You should a lot of the time. So recently there was the thing about the Hans Newman chess butt plug. Right. And this, you know, this story, the world. Oh, man, that's too bad. So this kind of argues against the point I'm trying to make, but I'll tell it anyway. I remember I'm kind of into chess, watching chess, the World Chess Championship. Magnus Carlsen quit the chess game. And he said he thought it was because people thought it was because he was implying that there was cheating going on. They're like, well, how could he possibly cheat? The only way to cheat would be, and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the only way to cheat would be a butt plug. Maybe he's got a vibrator inside of him that's vibrating Morse code, and he's A6, B12, G4, knight to rook B. So that was at first a week, nobody cared. And then Elon Musk tweeted that he thought it was possible.
So somebody was cheating at chess with a butt plug that would vibrate.
Well, so here's the thing. Once Elon Musk tweeted that was possible, the story became important enough for people to wonder about whether or not the chess game was being cheated in at all. And then we can look into it and what it might have been. And there turned out to be a thing called buttplug.io, which is an internet open source butt plug vibrator protocol used in a homemade DIY. So people have access to the technology, and it turned out butt plug was actually connected, at least in terms of the protocol, was connected to how the chess game probably could have been cheated in. But you know, if you had just said, hey, this guy might have a vibrator in his ear or something like that, it wasn't going to be as big of a story. And now in China, the Chinese state television is talking about the butt plug scandal in chess.
So sensationalizing it to be a butt plug rather than just a vibrator in his armpit.
It brought it to the world
story. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I remember hearing
pandas don't exist. See, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it brings people in to tell them the larger context.
Maybe. I mean, you know, if you're into that, if you hear pandas don't exist and you're like, no, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. No, I get your point there. Yeah. It gets more attention the more you sensationalize it. But yeah, but if you're looking for truth, like that's a different story, you know.
Truth. What is truth?
Well, I mean, because it's like reality shows. People will sensationalize something so much to where it's not what really happened anymore, you know.
Yeah,
anyway, that is truth.
That is
now you sound like Jordan Peterson. What is truth, and what is what, and what it is?
I think.
Do we really know what these things are?
This is an issue. So what is the value? The value is more valuable than the substance itself. Truth matters. Why? Because it makes people respond a certain way. The response is the thing that you want. You want people to make better choices based on more informed information. So therefore, truth becomes a necessary prerequisite. You can replace that, though. You can have propaganda. Propaganda can be used. It can give people a certain kind of perspective, and it can make them. It can drive them to either the exact same result. Let's say you're the military and you're fighting against another military, and you need your people to do something. And the reason makes sense because you've looked into it. But if the other state knows what's going on, it won't work. So you have to lie to your people for the right reason, to do the right thing, right? To manipulate them. And so this is the interesting thing about truth versus propaganda and in the responses of people. It might be that you are not yourself as much. There's a simultaneously, I think, was this something that Lex Friedman said on the talk with Destiny? Half of your identity exists on the internet now, because I know you from your YouTube videos as much as, and maybe more than we know each other in person. Right. Yeah. And so that means that to me and to many people, eventually that will matter more than your actual identity and your actual existence ever did. Because your existence will have only been limited to a few people that you experienced in real life, whereas they won't be impacted by your existence nearly as much as the videos. So the idea of truth becomes kind of obscured by its irrelevance.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, but you still need, I don't know. That truth seems to matter. I remember I was dating a girl back in the day, and we started talking about what's more important, truth or love. And I said truth.
That's true.
And she said love, and that was pretty much the end of our relationship. Because at that point, I was like, "Are you lying to me, bitch? You're lying about everything, aren't you?" Anyway, so yeah, it just depends on your personality, you know. I'd rather have the truth and that be detrimental to me than be lied and that be positive for me. Maybe that's the wrong mindset.
I think that those are all. So truth in a relationship is very important for the same reason that a corporation or an organization, it needs to be built. It's a teamwork based business in a lot of ways, a relationship. And people forget that. It's not just America loves this whole like movie that is a wedding. Like the love of these two people were so happy about each other. They couldn't even stand to be apart. Isn't that beautiful? Like that is not what a marriage is. That's not what a marriage is. When two parents take their children who've never met each other often and put them together and force them to live the rest of their lives and have kids. And this is not, America has turned it into this backwards thing. And so people are so afraid of marriage because they're afraid of the illusion. They're like, oh man, I can't have that. I know that it's not possible because it's not freaking real.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this expensive wedding and then just be happy afterwards forever.
Real marriage is you love the person one day and the next day you want to throw them off a bridge.
Dude, have you seen
Red Dawn? Not to throw them off a bridge. Go ahead.
Sorry. Have you seen Red Dawn?
No, I don't think so.
Really? Oh, that's a big one, bro. So do yourself a favor and cut me up with the Red Dawn, back and forth video, Pink Trip Red Dawn. But the original Red Dawn is where the Russians invade and they take over the United States. And it's so good because you've got all these like progressive candidates who've been kind of on the soft side with the Soviet Union, who are waiting for the Soviet takeover and everything. Yeah. But I don't want to ruin it for you. You got to see the whole movie. It's the best movie ever. But one of the main things is at one point, the grandfather of these, he's like, what's going on in my town? Communists are landing here. He takes his daughters and he puts them in the van with these high school graduate age, like senior high school boys, and gives them like whatever he has. Is like, all right, get him out of here. Keep him safe. And that's how he says goodbye to his daughters, And I think that's the most real. That's what a marriage is. It's these people that are trying to survive at odds with the rest of the world. And they have to work together. And because of that, truth becomes the most important thing. And love is the consequence of it. But also internal love, because we have this weird I don't know. When you say love, you know, because you've got that idea of like 7 different words for
women
love.
are obsessed with this love that happens in the first stage. Like there's a stage to it, right? Like you're gonna fall in love and it's gonna be all that goo goo gaga bullshit, but eventually that's gonna start fading and it becomes more about the partnership between two people, you know.
Right, yeah.
And facing the world together and having each other's back.
But feelings are how you lock them in, see, because it's a hypno thing for women.
Yeah. No, but then when those feelings start going away, then they start fucking the fucking gardener, and you know,
Felix,
yeah, because again, like you said, it's all this bullshit that they're basing everything on. They think everything's supposed to be this fucking romantic fairy tale, when it's kind of maybe that at the beginning for a little bit, and that's about it.
There's eros, you know, erotic love. There's agape, you know. There's the 7 forms of love, and I think that's the problem. Is there's camaraderie, there's teamwork building, there's the love that you experience as Eric Fromm talks about the mature love and the immature love. There's the love that you get as a baby that you take, and then the love you give as a mother, which you lose, and eventually is a departing love, is a separatory love, right? So one absorbs and the other one releases. And you know, this idea that also everything can be down to one word, like the Eskimos had 50 words for, or the Inuit have 50 words for snow, and we've got 7 words turned into 1 word for love. That's in order to control all of, I mean, this is the biggest thing the state and religion do. They control your marriage, which people can work together. They control the economy, right? The economy just means the running of the house.
Yeah. What do you think about Graham Hancock? Have you seen that the last Joe Rogan episode?
Yeah, I like Grant.
How's that tie into Tartaria?
Yeah, so I love Randall Carlson and I love Graham Hancock. I think they're trying to push this idea that things are much older. Let me put this differently.
Well, I mean, with the Becky Tepe or whatever the fuck it's called, I mean, that kind of proves it, doesn't it? The timeline's a little.
Let's put it this way. So, Carlson and Hancock also talks a lot about these things 20 years ago, but they used to talk more about things that happened within the last 5,000 years, revisions in the calendar, and they don't talk about that anymore. And I think it's partially because that's not socially acceptable to talk about the Jesuit calendar, the changes to the calendar, what's happened in the last 2,000 years, because that gets into these tribes, their autonomy, their sovereignty, and why the United Nations and these different groups are able to control different islands and different sovereign people. And so it becomes a much more relevant thing. So what he has to do is talk about things that happened 20,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. And we see this all the time with science to say, oh, this was millions of years ago. According to something that we can prove, it would be actually more like 1,000 years ago. But that would require the volcano to be, you know, nuclear, which I've shown you a few examples. Maybe like the Oklo volcano is a nuclear volcano. There's a number of volcanoes.
I didn't know such a thing existed. Nuclear volcanoes.
Yeah, I mean, I harp on this one a lot, but let me just pull it up for your audience if they haven't seen it. The Oklo nuclear 2 billion year old natural nuclear reactor. All right, and there's 16 flumes. You know, physicist Francis Perrin sat at the nuclear fuel processing plant in the south of France, thinking to himself, "This cannot be possible." In 1972, so when they found that it's like uranium 235 and plutonium, and that it had consumed something from 720 to 717, so about 0.003%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's about 6 nuclear blasts worth of. Jesus. And it's also impossible, right? You know, there's no way that naturally plutonium could start to synthesize itself to form, except here's one example. And I've seen about 6 other ones since then, you know, just in general, that are these nuclear volcanoes.
So being nuclear is because it's radioactive?
Right, yeah, there's uranium and there's radioactive isotopes that are in the materials. And when they interact with each other because of pressures, then it causes nuclear explosions, which sometimes are in hyper-pressurized space. You know. So all that can change your carbon dating.
Yeah. There's all kinds of shit I learned from you, dude. You know? But if you were to explain Tartaria to somebody who's never heard about it before, I'll give you the opportunity because I know you love to talk about Tartaria. Just what would be your explanation to somebody who's never heard the term or knows anything about it?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, but if you're talking to most of the people that have suspicions, I think that's the easiest, because you're like, hey, do you think it's possible that everyone ever has been told lies about history? Do you think history might be filled with winners telling you their version of the tale?
I think everybody would agree with that
right.
one. Okay.
And so then you're like, okay, so who are those people? Like, do you think that the Catholic Church or the United States or England might have had a hand in this? You know, if you look at the Catholic Church or the Gregorian calendar, do you think the Catholic Church and the Gregorian calendar might be connected? So then from there, you're like, okay, so we're looking at the calendar and it tells us that this is this state and that is that state. Spain, we're talking about how we're both Spanish. 200 years ago, there's the Aragon Kingdom. 400 years ago, there's the Cordoba Caliphate. 600 years before that, it's part of an even bigger Umayyad Caliphate, an Arabic place. Germany didn't exist until 100 years ago, right? Germany was Prussia, Austro-Hungary, all of these places, all these different names. In Spain, they spoke Arabic. A lot of books were written in the Middle Ages. We just don't have them anymore. I mean, there are tons of them, but there were so many that were burned because of the Spanish Inquisition. So it's almost as if at some point in the Dark Ages, everything we know was erased and burned, and a bunch of new books were produced, right, in the 1600s. That's kind of where we get into what existed before the 1600s.
Do you think the same thing happened with the Library of Alexandria?
The Library of Alexandria is an example, right?
Like,
yeah,
like where all this history is lost and then it's got to be kind of rebuilt.
So Alexandria was Heliorca. Heliorca was the north of Lorca. So today in South Spain, Lorca is Heliorcus. It means Helio-Orcus, the orchestrated city run by the sun. So sun god city. The old name for that was On. The symbol for On was the power symbol that we have today on our laptops, that little line with the U thing through it. That was the symbol for the sun-powered city. We have all these great stories, and you've heard so much of this from Hancock and Carlson. The thing is, they're saying this happened 20,000 years ago, or there's these giant resets. I'm saying, and I'm not the only one saying it, because a lot of this has come from studies from the 9th century in the Iranian and Spanish Arabic texts, but also from the University of Moscow, Anatoly Fomenko, who's a chronologist studying there for the last 40 years, a mathematician and a scientist and professor, that the calendar has had these things added to it and changed. So, for instance, I said earlier, the pseudo-Isidorian decrees, at one point the Catholic Church said, hey, you guys who are priests cannot have wives or kids. You never could. Here, check out this coffee-stained forgery that we just created, which actually, no, it's really a 1,000-year-old document, wink. And it says, it's the pseudo-Isidorian decrees. Priests can't own property. They can't be, it's like, wait, well, we've been doing this for centuries. Yeah, well, apparently you were never supposed to do it. So they then they just created these dates and added these centuries and moved things in. At one point, the Jesuits got excommunicated. You've heard of the Jesuits of the Catholic Church, the black shirt priests. The Jesuits ended up getting excommunicated from the church for about 100 years. They lost all their lands. They went to the Franciscans. And then what they did was they took their property, and a new Franciscan secret police agent kind of Jesuit snuck into the Vatican, became the Pope. Then they dug up the body of the old Pope who had gotten rid of the Jesuits, and they excommunicated his body. They sent his soul from heaven down to hell, and they burned all the books, and they got rid of those years. So all of these things went together to change our calendar and to hide what existed before that, which was called, by some people in some books, Tartaria, right? But that's not just hey, Seth is here.
What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Pink Trip? What's up, Xirtus?
Yeah,
he's got me trying to bring in Tartaria talk. I was like,
I wanted to give you an opportunity, but like usual, I'm like, is anybody following that? Because I'm not. I can't. It's just, it's too much. You got any normie topics you want to talk about, Seth? We need some more normie talk going on in here, man.
I mean, I'm not really a normie, but I did have a movie pitch. Can I give you guys my elevator movie pitch, since you're looking for? I think low budget sci-fi movie is the way to go, right? Like if you think of Primer is a great example of a movie where they spent no money, but it sends your mind into like expensive sci-fi spaces. How about a movie about a kid who's like a scientist, like Xirtus? You could play a 16-year-old kid, no problem. And this kid invents free energy. He's working on it. He stumbles onto free energy, then starts to become paranoid that people are going to suicide him, and starts looking at all his close friends, maybe his parents or agents, his girlfriend. And then it could turn out that maybe his girlfriend is actually not only an agent, but she's like been sent back in time to stop him from creating free energy, maybe. And like the movie could resolve with you never really figuring out. So
or
like
maybe
the whole
you
thing
find out he's a schizophrenic and it's all in his fucking head.
No, Donnie Darko did that already, but yeah, okay.
I mean,
Simpsons did it.
If you go by that rule, you know, that's where the details matter.
I have a problem with like the schizo ending of things though, because like there's that movie 23, which is like they have the Jim Carrey obsesses with the number 23, the 23 Enigma, and he's like, oh, there's this book all about it, and then he reads
crazy. That's it.
But then it turns out he wrote the book, and it's all he's crazy. But there's all these things there, you know. And if you, I think the idea of a free energy movie where a kid has actually built this thing, and you see how it's taken from him, that would be great. Like the way, have you seen The Absent-Minded Professor, the original Flubber?
No,
I just think there'd be way more. You could go way further with the drama and the craziness if the person's actually crazy.
I did want to go ahead.
Maybe it's both. Maybe he's crazy and he's suspecting the wrong person of being an agent, but someone else really is.
The movie ends 100 years later when a corporation just steals his idea and takes credit for everything.
I like it. I like it where schizophrenia isn't a problem. You know, like, so maybe a movie where they have to throw a house party and Empire Records is involved, but the whole time he's a schizophrenic and he's talking to Elvis, but it's not like a bad thing. You know, I think that would be.
I love that. To me, schizophrenia has always just meant extra information. You've got extra information and people are sore butt about it. So they want to lock you away because they're jealous they don't have the extra information. I mean, where do hallucinations come from? I've heard like explanations of where hallucinations come from. But if you have like an imaginary friend or you're like hallucinating some extremely detailed thing, like you're like Enoch, the book of Enoch, hallucinating that, like, where's that coming from, you know?
Dude, the Informed Descent says the German Drei und Zweisig movie 3 and 20, like 23. That movie about hacking Chernobyl is way better. True story about a kid who either the CIA or the KGB killed a hacker.
That is a good idea, Seth. Let people know who, because nobody on my channel knows who said this. Seth, introduce yourself, brother.
Oh, I'm a based reggae artist, Venice Beach Dub Club, VBDC. I also host a little podcast on Instagram, and I just started tweeting, and I'm already the best at it.
Did you get the check mark?
He does.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I was so happy. I like, as soon as I saw it was available, I got it, and then now nobody can get it. I feel so fucking.
Listen, that's the only way I'm ever getting verified for anything. So.
He does have some really wicked good music too. It's awesome, and he does a show on Instagram. It's called Talkie Time that he does also.
I like this idea from Stefan right here.
VBDC in a softcore sci-fi called Nympho Wars. I think Trauma Films already did that. Lloyd Kaufman, but
I actually do have abs. If you're looking for an actor that's not a very good actor but has long hair and abs, like if you need like a B-rate Thor or something like that.
Yeah, bro is ripped. It's true.
It sounds like you need more than just abs for this one, though. You might need a big schlong too.
Special effects.
Yeah, special effects.
Special effects department.
Yeah, no, check out his music. He does some good reggae shit, man. I love reggae music, dude. It's whenever I want to be in a good mood, I just, reggae is always what I turn on, man.
It's like truther reggae too. So like he hits the quarantine.
You know, classic roots reggae is all truther reggae. It's like Old Testament stuff, you know. And now they try to whitewash it, but
that's a great point. Yeah.
Go ahead, Andreas. I'm out of topics, bro. You can
I was just thinking about reggae. Actually, I was just thinking. So in the radio days, like how they think reggae was created was that rock and roll from the bayou was bouncing in the AM/FM radio, and so the AM radio, and so some of the signal was getting crossed, and so it was getting like and so it caused. Yeah, I think that might have been some of the interesting influence that led to the bounce pick.
I never heard that. I've definitely heard that they would take blues and R&B and rock records, and they'd just the DJ would just loop the instrumental part, kind of like with hip hop, like the break, the instrumental break, and then people would sing over that. And in reggae culture, like they have what are called rhythms, which just are like standards basically. So it's like you're playing like a standard bass line. And then everyone sings their own different version over it. It's called versions. So it is definitely a super interesting musical culture, because like I'll go to a reggae show and I'll hear the same song for like 40 minutes, but like different people will get up and sing on it, and the DJ will play different versions of the same song. It's like totally distinct from other forms of music.
Yeah, I agree with Stanky there, dude. I really that's honestly, like, if I could sum up the AI shit, I really just think it's a con.
Well, thank you. I think you just pointed out what I said earlier, which is in the next 3 years, when humans start to be interfaced with AI, they will be integrated into the circuit. And so you'll use humans where they're necessary. And I think that will only last for maybe a few years, because you're going to use humans to emotionally process data. And once they have an idea how emotions process data, they'll be able to emulate that. But also in the meantime, how many humans are learning from computers? These kids are learning how to think in emojis and text and things. So we are becoming more AI just through our interaction with it. Just just because we learn from things. That's how humans are.
You're gonna let Elon put some shit in your brain?
Kind of what I'm saying is it doesn't even matter. You don't even have to. Like if you compare yourself to a person 200 years ago, you're so different because the amount of the parts of your brain that have developed. If you were to use an MRI and see it, look at a gamer. You know what I mean? Parts of your brain grow. So we really don't get how much we are connected to something wirelessly just by interacting with it.
So let me ask you a question, Pink Drip. If you were like 85 years old, or you felt like you had like maybe 5-10 years left to live, then would you let Elon put something in your brain? Just because like, you know, question. Even if it changes who you are, it's like, what's the difference anyhow?
I mean, what am I going to gain from having something in my brain? Is it going to keep me alive, or is it
like super intelligence? You'll be able to think through problems you never were, and you'll be like, now I know the meaning of life. I had that experience when I quit fluoride and TV. I was like, oh, now I understand all these things. Like, boy, I was like, I felt like I gained 20 IQ points in a month.
I mean, yeah, if you're on your deathbed and somebody's like, you can live if you do this, I'm pretty sure I'd be, I don't know, unless I'm suicidal, I'd probably want to keep living. So
what's the downside to the brain chip?
Well, the having something that's not you inside your brain.
It's a big assumption that you don't already.
Like I mean, invader.
You might be the something inside a monkey's body, you know. Well, I think about all the time, like, what if like we actually are
filled of all kinds of different fucking
and trauma and memories,
and all that
even
shit,
just traumatic memories from your family and things like that make up your memories and your decision making, right?
Getting rid of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's how much of you is really you, and like, what are you? You're an amalgamation of experiences and memories. So isn't that just one of them that you've been attached to?
Yeah,
I like to put myself through thought experiments where I try to think like what would be like the most disturbing reality if I were to find out who am I, what is life, like what would be the most disappointing or like disturbing outcome, and could I live with it?
The one we're already living where you just die and turn into dirt. That's the most disturbing reality.
I could think of worse ones. What if like you are a parasite? You're like a worm in the brain, and that's where the consciousness is, and you're like this gross little worm with fangs, and you just didn't have they've just taken over these monkey bodies and used them, and that's what you actually are, is this gross little worm, not the human.
What movie was that where there's like the little thing that gets inside?
Lots of movies. Star Trek, Wrath of Khan, and lots of movies.
Yeah. I mean, that it is interesting to think about that, like the ending of Men in Black, where like you pull out and it's just like little marbles and shit. Like, yeah, it's interesting, man. But then
that's what we're getting to, man.
You got to throw out all the religious shit though to kind of get there.
Why? Which parts? Which religious stuff you mean?
Well, not Adam and Eve and all that shit. Our whole
that stuff's going away.
But it's all up to reinterpretation. Digital Noah's Archive is the DNA, and Adam and Eve. Adamu is the Sumerian word for a herd or a species. So, I mean, the walled garden, Eden, has to do with maybe the firmament, or has to do with us living inside of an enclosed society.
The firmament. I don't hear that unless are we talking flat Earth now?
You call it Van Allen belt if you want. I don't know. Whatever makes you comfortable. But
is the Earth flat, guys? I don't think it is, right?
I think the universe is a hologram. So
I think it's finite. I don't think it's easy to leave what we call Earth and like go to. I don't know either way. I'm not a scientist, but like I don't really think it's likely that you can like go to the moon and like go to Mars. They look to be lights, you know what I mean? So I don't think anyone's really gone there or is going there. And it seems like they spend a lot of money and like all the world's military might trying to like detonate atomic bombs, high atmosphere, like trying to blow holes. You see those Tesla rockets that look like they're skipping off of something, and like, all these rockets are going up and then arcing down and crashing into the Bermuda Triangle. So it seems like they spend a lot of money and effort, and the Nazi bell was trying to like vibrate a hole in so it's like, why do they spend so much energy trying to figure out how to get through the Van Allen belts if they've been doing it, for since they're calling the moon on a landline with Nixon?
You saw this, Mark? The NASA detects human-made nuclear bubble protecting Earth from radiation. So we pushed up so much of the nukes, like Operation Argus intended, where we just shot nukes up at the sky, and with radio waves bouncing the signal, the radio is holding a nuclear belt that's tearing things apart. And luckily for us, according to this it says it's protecting us. So good job, everybody.
Who's Republic World?
I don't know.
Can we trust them? Can we trust them?
You can read that from other
sources. That's the thing.
There's
so much fucking stuff out there. It's like, what can you trust?
Well, like our cosmology has changed a lot in my lifetime. I think 3 or 4 years ago, you could probably find this easily. I mean, you worked at NASA, actually.
Right. Yeah. If you want, you can look at the NASA article on the same thing. So,
well, I was going to say the article on.
You helped them discover some old videos or some shit, right?
I helped with the moon tapes.
What's that story, dude?
He's got taped over them with Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
No. So what started out
special.
What started out was first thing I did at NASA was like video projection art. So we were doing for Yuri's night. There was this thing. Yuri Gagarin was the Soviet cosmonaut who entered space first. So they celebrate that every year. And we had like festivals and bands like further associated with Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead and things would play. And I think MIA was there actually the first year that we did a show. But then from there, I met a bunch of people and got involved more. And so when I was going to school, I was studying nanotechnology. I got involved with what's called stoichiometric indexing, which is where you measure the amount of which materials are bonded together in something. So you could be like, okay, well, this lighter here has, certain kinds of polymers, it's in this bond with this shape. And you can use a SEM to look at the bond. You can use an atomic force microscope to read the layers. And you stare through this 9-foot tall or 20-foot tall atomic force microscope, not really through it. You're not just looking like with a little hole, but there's a screen. And you're not seeing pictures. You're just seeing lines and stuff. So I did that for a long time. And then I went and I was walking around Moffett Field, and there's a McDonald's building there. So I go into the McDonald's building, and there's a dude wearing a sarong. And I'm like, what's up? The sarong is like a skirt from Indonesia. And I'm like, okay. NASA, I thought this was a McDonald's. He's like, no, this is where we keep all of the this big yellow containers full of these giant tapes, these 8 and 10-inch tape reels.
So it was an old McDonald's that's no longer McDonald's.
It was probably, I don't know if it was ever actually a McDonald's. I think it might have been a McDonald's for a couple of years or something like that. Yeah. But even back then, it was where they were keeping stuff since the 70s or like 1968 or something like that. So it was like, the whole thing is weird. Interestingly enough, when I went to Bermuda, I saw and Bermuda's where they kept all the planes for September 11th. They just forced them all to land there and put them in the hotels. There's a McDonald's there on the NASA shore because there's a Bermuda NASA landing spot too. So there's McDonald's in these places for whatever reason. But they didn't have food. They had tapes. And they said they didn't know how they could digitize them because they didn't have machines at this point. They could run them. And I was like, well, I'm kind of a hoarder. Like I've got my dad and I go to like the flea markets and I have 8 and 10-inch tape machines, and I have some parts and things like that. We could start working on this project. And so from there, a project kind of started to start getting equipment together into the McDonald's and to digitize the tape. And we got more and more people. First, there was a girl involved that was helping indexing all of the different tapes that were getting through and archiving. Yeah. And that took also like 3 months to get to a point where we could even really do that because we had to get permission, and we also were able to prove that the machines weren't going to damage the tapes and everything like that. Eventually, we get a team that's like 40 people. And by that point, then it's like there's so many layers of proxy before we can get involved with anything. And then they say, oh, there's no info on the tapes. It's actually all been erased. There's a couple things, but most of the important stuff is gone, And so don't worry, because there's another copy of the Book of Mormon. We found this other archive in a garage somewhere that has all of these tapes, and we're going to digitize those tapes. And that's when I knew that there was something kind of weird going on.
So what was supposed to be on the tapes? The whole moon landing?
All of it. Yeah. So there should have been footage from, before there would have been a lot of things before the moon landing. And then there's some things they've admitted at the time were fake. So not to say there wasn't all kinds of things that did happen, but there's a fuselage camera that's attached to Apollo 11 that wasn't attached to Apollo 8, 9, 10, or 11, but only existed on the first 6 Apollos. Maybe it was the 2nd through 6th, I forget, but they're not, they had cameras for certain ones. They didn't have a camera on the final one, and they used fake footage. They used older footage in the showing of America, what was going on. And then they would cut to like, a chart showing this is what it looks like. It's an animation from Walt Disney of a plane flying. So that stuff everyone already knows isn't real, but there were real things. There's supposed to be footage of it flying through the sky. Then once it gets outside of our Cape Canaveral district, Spain. And then once it goes beyond that, Australia was supposed to have, and the entire time they have radio comm frequencies. So we're supposed to have radio informatic data. The system is fax, based digital radio. So we were supposed to have all the calculations from the ship itself as it's going. It's a very simple system. So it should be really easy to get that data. And it's just along the way on the magnetic tape. And then they're supposed to have all of the digitization of what they sent from the film. And then there's actually film, because they actually had film cameras that they brought with them. So we're supposed to have, and so that's the stuff that we did get. Now on my channel, I have some footage of them going around the moon with a dust buggy, you know, like racing around really fast. But the stuff that they're supposed to have that show how they did that, you know, for instance, them landing on the moon, them inside of they're supposed to be filming themselves a little bit inside of the ship. That's never been released. And there's even more footage that we're not shown. And then they've released some footage that we've already seen before. All the stuff that we've seen in the garage, it's higher resolution versions of stuff that they released in the past. So there is some weird questions there to be asked about why we're not supposed to see everything about the moon landing. And the people involved, when I was in Spain, I went and I did some interviews in this thing called the place called the Valley of Blood, which is this haunted area, but that's also where NASA had built their relay station. And then I was like, is there any weird stories about like, oh yeah, people go missing all the time, people get killed, but you know, but like NASA, oh yeah, no, these are guys who were looking in to the sky with their telescopes, so they're doing their thing. And then they got taken, they had radio, they were listening to the different ham radios, and then they heard something they weren't supposed to get hurt here, and then they got taken out. So those are
Abel keeps asking to come in. Abel, I can't let you in because I don't know you, man. It's too risky to let randoms on here, dude. You know, people have lost channels that way. So,
true.
And by the way, YouTube, I believe the moon landing happened. I believe we have the safest elections in the world that's ever happened.
That's why we're on this show, right?
You know, whatever you want me to believe, YouTube.
Thanks for reminding me where we are, bro. Because somehow on Instagram, I get away with saying everything. Maybe just because I'm not popular enough for them to notice. But
yeah,
but Abel, come into the tartarynova.com Discord, connect with us. You can talk to us. We'll screen you, vet you. If you want to talk to Pink Trip, we'll see if you're safe. As long as you don't have rabies, it might happen.
Yeah, it's just not a good idea to let people, you know.
Right.
I mean, I've seen this dude that covers the Niners. He was doing these Skype interviews with people, and he got his whole channel taken down because the dude did some prank, started screaming the N-word or something like that. So yeah, it's you know, I wouldn't mind doing that, having like call-ins and shit. That'd be interesting, but it can go sideways really quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard to do that live if you have like a 30-second delay or something.
Yeah. If it's not live, it's different. But if it's live, then what goes out, man.
Is there a way to do that with Streamlabs?
Yeah, I'll help you guys set that up. So actually, Danny Polishchuk, I think he's got a 30-second delay through OBS set up for his call. I'm not sure if it's really not, or if he's just going with it, which is like Ray. But yeah, you OBS can set up a 30-second delay or whatever you want.
Yeah, there's ways to do it. There's just better safe than sorry, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Ranger danger.
You can't mess around with these platforms, dude. Everybody's, you know. It's no fun having to walk around topics like that and can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? It's very annoying, dude. Because it's like
it's really hard to know like what's the righteous.
Andreas just said all this shit about the moon that I probably don't agree with, or I don't know what I can't confirm or deny what he's saying. But we
don't even know if Andreas agrees with what he just said. It's very hard to pin him down on
is even real in the first place. You know
I mean, you know, I just tell you what I experienced, and I try to be careful about what connotations that could lead to. That doesn't prove anything. You know, it could be that. I mean, theoretically, the Book of Mormon could still be true if they get rid of the Book of Nephi and Lehi, but that doesn't mean anything. And that's kind of that's what it felt like to me, is all I'm saying. I share how I felt, but
no, that's an interesting story, dude.
Yeah, I think that the thing is likely we had to film stuff because it needed to, the optics mattered almost more than the success of a mission like that.
Are you using the Book of Mormon as a code word for something? Or are you saying that NASA literally had the Book of Mormon on 10-inch film?
Code word. Yeah, metaphor.
Oh, okay.
Metaphor.
Okay. All right.
Code word.
For moon landing? You can't say moon landing on YouTube?
I don't know. I'm just going to open my little thing on the list of American utopian communities and read the
I mean, I'm pretty sure people have had problems talking. I mean, it's all conspiracies now. If you talk about conspiracies at all, you get in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know.
It used to be one of the most popular things to talk about on YouTube was conspiracies.
That is such a bummer. So I can't wait for them to finally recognize that they're like, what are they doing? They're cutting out most of it's like porn and conspiracies. That's what the internet's for.
Yeah,
the pendulum can't stay all the way to the left forever. There's about to be a radical swing, and hopefully it's not like Weimar Republic into, I can't say that word either, but
Banana Republic we were going with tonight.
From the Weimar Republic to the banana to the mean Mr. Mustache regime. Hopefully it's not like that. But what I meant to say is I was thinking about Twitter's situation the other day, Normie News, and it seems like a great opportunity for like one based advertiser, like a mega corporation, to end cancel culture permanently. If you think about the bluff that's going on with Twitter, is all these big advertisers like, we're pausing our advertising because we're getting pressure from one blue-haired Karen or whatever. So they're pausing all their advertising and putting Elon over a barrel where he's like, we might literally go out of business. We're losing $4 million a day. It seems like Twitter, this is, I believe, a fact, is the #1 most sought after advertising space in human history. I believe that's what it is Twitter, like more than Times Square, more than the Super Bowl. Twitter, you get the best returns on your advertising anywhere. Maybe TikTok, I don't know.
Makes sense.
So, and right now they're at their peak of their usership. So it's not like it's dipping and people are pulling out for that reason. People are pulling out for ideological reasons, pausing their ad campaigns. What an amazing opportunity for any corporation that hasn't been able to get in there with the package they want on Twitter to make an offer and say, give us a 10% discount. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whichever, you know, and then right there, that cancels the bluff. The bluff fails, and that's the end of cancel culture.
Hasn't Twitter and all these other social media sites been running at in the red for?
Twitter loses millions, billions all the time. That's
so. I mean, him saying this to me is almost like, this is why I had to fire all these people. Like, I'm not just an evil dude. We're losing money.
Yeah.
And, because there was, when you come in and you fire a bunch of people, no matter what, it always looks bad, right? You take the ideology out of it. It just makes you look like a bad person. So you got to explain it to people. This is why we're losing all this money. We can't just keep burning fucking money.
But if somebody steps in and fills that gap and replaces that money, then the bluff of cancel culture is gone forever. And right away, all these corporations, they just won't be woke anymore. They won't celebrate Pride Month anymore and all down the list. Why would they need to?
I know this is probably not going to work, but I'd love to see it become a pay model where everybody pays.
I like it. I like to pay for it. I don't like to get anything for free because nothing is free.
Yeah, like if you want to
know what I'm paying, right?
Like you should be able to absorb everything for free if you want to go on the website and read tweets and all that. But once you want to be a publisher on the site, then
how do you like it if you're in a bar and a strange guy comes up and he's like, "Let's talk. Let me buy you a drink." Be like, "No way."
Yeah,
no. I buy my own drink. Who are you? You know.
But I think we just need to go back to the old model, like we did with like we do with our internet, like we do with cell phones, like we did with the landlines. Like we pay them monthly, and the less be less, and they won't need to rely on advertisers so much. And then we become a customer as opposed to.
I think advertisement is that's the thing. Advertisement is really the power of the social media, because you're able to influence public opinion, and that's what it's going to be about no matter what, whether it's about. And so this is why it's funny when people talk about freedom of speech, because it's not about freedom of speech. It's about promoted speech, and how the promoted speech before was one group, and now the other group that was at odds with them. It seemed like the two diametrically opposed groups are arguing for who gets to be promoted. So now the blue check marks are going to the other group, and they're saying, oh, this is terrible for us. But the other group says, so this is great. We don't really care about free speech. We just wanted to be promoted. And that's not everybody, but that's a lot of people.
I hate when they use the term promotion, when they talk about like, oh, well, Twitter's sharing your stuff. Like that's giving you promotion.
That's the main reason people were supposed to sign up for Blue in the first place.
I understand the logic behind that thinking, but to me, like these are systems that work best when they recommend good content, right? So instead of think of it as like promoting, just think of it as like, you're pushing the best. It's meritocracy. You're pushing the best performing content to the top.
We've been stuck in the mud. We've been stuck in the mud for 10, 15 years with Google and Facebook, which obviously don't promote on purpose the right things and intentionally promote less interesting content because they think it's right for you. And so I agree that that's messed up. The thing is, you can look at other examples. You can look at great minds think alike, like minds.com. They've had an algorithm designed around and promoting better material content people are interested in, that if someone likes something, they're actually pushing it forward more. And so the weight of its interest in people is socially and democratized in a sense, far better than anything that you could have just by paying for a Pepsi commercial to play for you. Yeah. The problem is when you get to a level like that, it's all the content's so good. At least it's all pretty closely equally interesting. You might have 30,000 podcasters talking about freedom of speech. So which ones are right for which people.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a simple system of measuring the KPI. You know, it's like, hey, this video's got a higher click-through rate. This video's got a higher average watch time. This video, people are watching it up to the end of the video at a higher rate. You can measure all that shit. That's how YouTube does it. That's how shit pops off on the algorithms, because you got a high click-through rate. I mean,
but that's so there might be people. I don't know. So then let's say they're like, you know, you're telling the same things or better. Like, let's say Tim Pool does a show, talks about New Zealand, you know, and he does a pretty good job. But there are people in New Zealand that know about that more, and they have less views, right? But people in New Zealand, they might be algorithmically able to pick up on the content closer to them more because the weight is stronger. So I think it's not that the content is better or worse necessarily. It's just that different people, you have to figure out which people the content's for, and that's going to be the focus of the future algorithm.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, yeah, you can break it down into countries. Like, obviously, one country is going to prefer a Spanish. You know, if it's a Spanish-speaking country, they're going to prefer their videos in Spanish, and if it's English, they're going to prefer it in English. But I think it's pretty easy to go, hey, these are the statistics, and this video is performing. This video is good too, but this video is performing better. And then, you know, you can still push the one that's not performing as well, but you know, it's all meritocracy, dude. It's like there's a lot of good football players, but there's only one team that wins, you know?
Right.
Not that it should be only one person that gets all the views, but you know what I'm saying? You can track the data and go, okay, these are the best performing videos.
Open mind. If you're interested in Tartaria, go to the Xirtus channel. There's a bazillion videos, I think is the number of videos on Tartaria. So you should be fine.
Yeah, we're on your channel right now, dude. I think you're getting more viewers than I am, Andreas.
Well, don't let that go to my head or nothing, but
yeah, no, because I mean, we're talking about the shit that your people are interested in. We're not talking about Joe Rogan or Alex Jones right now.
Let's talk about Joe Rogan and Alex Jones.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what to talk about with that shit. I mean, I'm running out of topics, dude, to be honest. So I was kind of like,
to me like they've squeezed the fun out of social media. I think that's what we're talking about. The reason YouTube is big is because of Zeitgeist, all this Book of Mormon stuff we're not allowed to talk about. That's why YouTube is a thing. It was fun, and that was what was organically trending, was conspiracy theories mostly, because that's the opposite of what you get taught in school, and most people don't hang out in arcane libraries blowing dust off of ancient tomes like Xirtus. So people had never heard this stuff before, so they're like, here's a whole undiscovered territory. It was like exploration. And they've squeezed the fun out of it, but it's like soap, right? You can squeeze the soap. It's got to go somewhere. Yeah. So I don't know if people are going to go back offline or where they're going to go, but the fun needs to return. And what could be more fun than bringing back Owen Benjamin, bringing back Alex Jones? I mean, this has to have occurred to Elon Musk. He's like, he knows who all the fun people are.
I'm surprised that we haven't seen that yet.
Right. It's like we've got Cat Turd and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought we would see it a lot sooner.
My prediction was Saturnalia. I think December 17th is when he'll probably do it. I think it might be New Year's or something like that, but he said it was going to take him a little while, and it's smart when you get into something, and this isn't the only thing he's done. Also, a lot of people noticed how many changes he made really quickly, but a lot of the time, if you watch what's happening before you change it, you can see what's going on. So I think he is watching, and this is how he's fired people. Instead of just, laying them off, he's catching them doing wrong. He's catching the system not working. So it's going to take another month probably at least before that's, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's pipe dream was that he was going to come and it was going to be like, all right, all the fucking chains are off, everybody.
I think that's the thing people forget is like really the most important thing here is that a billionaire is playing a game and he's going to get his money, $40 billion. He's going to get his money worth of have fun, and fun for him, is the most important thing here because he's forced to do this. It's not his only thing he wants to do. He might think
obviously loves Twitter, dude. You can tell he loves the platform. Like he uses.
I think he loves the challenge. I think he's like, I found the button, and everyone's trying to keep my hand off of it. It wasn't Mars. Right. It wasn't electric cars. Like the government's fine with all that. They're giving him money. Now he's like, oh, I found the thing where now they're going to come and take all my money away. And they probably will come and take away a bunch of his subsidies and stuff like that and try to undercut Tesla and all that stuff, make deals with the Chinese electric car company or something else.
But if he can build Twitter up to be the #1 news source, then he can control the optics enough to make himself at least as successful as any other politician.
Right. But everyone knows now, everyone can see all the major powers are trained their attention directly on Twitter. So everyone knows now where the persuasion game is and how important it is. So I think we're living through something huge with Elon Musk and Twitter. I think that's way more important than Red Wave or anything going on politically or Trump or any of that.
if he's buying it to control the optics, then to me we're not that's not what I want. I don't want someone to buy it to control the optics.
And that's important. I think, Mark, you might think sometimes people are doing more for you than they are. I don't think he's there because he loves you or me.
Well, I mean, dude,
or freedom of speech.
He's definitely talked a good game about freedom of speech and how important it is. Because to me, I think it's always underestimated how important it is for humans to be able to get together and hash out bad ideas, good ideas, everything, so that everybody can arrive at a better place through debate.
Well, that's different than freedom of speech, though. That's something new, because a freedom of speech, as we have it in the actual three-dimensional space where you're in like a mortal coil and all that stuff, is like, it's like you said, meritocracy. Like, popular ideas get discussed a lot. People who just scream the N-word get kicked out of bars, they get beat up. But like on the internet, if you can just have the people just screaming the N-word, that's all they do. They come on every post you make and just scream the N-word. That's something different. I mean, that's way freer speech than humanity has ever experienced before in the real world. So it's like there's implications that we don't know.
But it's not without repercussions still. And what ends up happening, and this is something the guy who made Mastodon said, and I know Mastodon's gone by the wayside, I'm sorry, for a confederated platform, but the idea was quieter voices aren't heard by louder voices. So free speech should also have to be, there has to be some sort of equity or something.
Sounds like equity. I was about to say that sounds like equity.
Yeah, I know it's a terrifying word, and you have to be careful with it. Yeah. But it is true that people who scream are heard louder on Twitter. There are certain kinds of voices that get heard. There's a way of being heard. If you promote, I could have made so many more followers if I had pretended to be somebody's account, or if I had made only pictures of the Ukraine crisis, or if I had said that these are pictures of Biden slipping. Like, the only thing that really gets, it's this fever dream of screaming into the abyss that really makes it, that gets retagged. And
what do you think about anonymity? What do you think about removing anonymity from social media? Like, you have to have a picture of your face and your real name.
Yeah, I'm against it being a universal. I'm against requirements like that, but I think it's useful.
I just wish we had more sites, because we could have something for everybody, right? We could have the site that's more like a publisher. That's like, okay, this is not a platform. I'm a publisher, so we're gonna curate our speech to try to make it as beneficial to everybody as possible. But then we also need the Wild West.
Right. Yeah. But that's like, you have a site for mosquitoes and a site for people. Where are the mosquitoes going to try to go?
I think the anonymous forums of Rome, the Congress kept, the forum kept, are important, because it allowed for non-named sources to bring up questions. And if we're afraid that we will be held responsible for the questions, then those questions can never be asked. But the limit's still there. What you're saying about people that are just going on there to scream the N-word. Jordan Peterson was talking about people that hide behind a fake identity that's usually some demoralizing, like Demon Spawn 6 or whatever. Like, the kinds of, it's true, that exists.
There's also a thing too where like it's either one or the other. It's like either we have people being censored and blah blah blah, or it's people screaming the N-word all day.
Right.
You're not going to see a bunch of people complaining if a bunch of racists screaming the N-word all day get banned. People are not going to give a shit. Just like people don't give a shit when.
Yeah, but who decides what's racist? Then you have the same problem.
I mean, I know that's the slippery slope, right? But there is a point where it's like there are things that people don't care if it gets rid of, because it doesn't contribute anything, right? The guy spamming racist language.
That's subjective. It's like, we're trying to solve the problem we have right now, which is censorship, but we have to think about the problem we'll have with no censorship, which is there is a lot of censorship in the wild.
No censorship. But because that's what I'm saying. Nobody's going to complain if it goes back to just ISIS videos being removed, violence shit being removed, porn being removed, people spamming racist shit without any other thing. That's basically spam, that being removed. No one's going to complain about that shit. So if we just went back to that's the shit that we remove, everybody will be happy. So doesn't have to go back to, it's got.
Can we go back, or do we have to push on through to something different? Can we go back to the internet of 2000, 2001?
I mean, I'd love that. I'd love to go back to the internet.
I mean, you'd love it. Is it possible? I don't think it's possible.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean,
it's possible, because they destroyed the internet. You have a few things left. What would be cool is if they destroyed the internet 2.0 that exists now. Facebook, Google, AWS, Amazon servers were all down. 20% of the internet, there's 1% is the dark net. 20% more of that you haven't even seen would emerge again, and there would be people that have their own little servers connected to their routers, and you could have a peer-to-peer internet again. But that's going to require a complete collapse of the infrastructure that's set up right now.
So Mad Cow makes a good point. He says, if you're anonymous, you can speak more freely. I'd vote for that. People who want real name on the internet are really missing the point. I get that.
I didn't say I don't want it. I'm just saying we're going to move into if we get rid of all censorship on the internet, the troll culture exists. You know what I mean? We didn't really have the censorship increased people's desire to troll. So
that's the other thing too. It's like when you make drugs illegal, you make them a little cooler.
Yeah. And I'm anti-authoritarian, but I realize that too creates a whole new set of problems that you didn't expect. So I'm just wondering where we go, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I want to censor people or force them to not be anonymous.
I think like if you're us and you're like an internet personality, you've already suffered from infamia where a lot of your personality belongs to the public. And so that's different. But if you want to maintain your anonymity and have your right to privacy, as long as that exists, I think that you should have the right to continue to have that. I just don't know how realistic it's going to be in a couple of years.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of like 1800 and the politicians are giving us a stump speech and then a guy comes up with a bag on his head, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I just get annoyed.
It's a new thing.
With always the anti-free speech argument. And we do this with a lot of arguments. We always go one extreme or the other. Like there's no middle ground there. And it's like, I don't think you're going to have very many people on the right who are pro-free speech that are going to get mad. Like when Kanye got removed. Most people on the right were like, well,
you're a well-intentioned person. When we actually try to create the idea of moderation and find that middle ground, we see that the worst intentioned people are willing to do anything to take control of it. And that's how we keep winding up in this situation.
That's why we should follow the laws, because if we want to make it a law that this type of speech is not protected, where you're spamming, like that's not helping anything. Okay, then that's not protected free speech. If it's, if you're like pornography, probably not protected free speech. But see, if we put these into the law, then we at least have control over it, as opposed to just letting whoever the fuck runs the system do whatever the fuck they want. So that's why I liked when Elon was like, let's follow the laws, the free speech laws of the country, because then we have control over those laws to a certain degree.
Yeah. It's too bad we don't follow the antitrust laws of this country. We have the most oversized government of all time, and they don't perform their one most crucial function, which is to prevent these giant corporate monopolies that are supranational entities.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. That's a big problem. Yeah. Go ahead, Andreas. You were saying something.
I was just thinking about like Nigeria. So I was talking to a friend of mine in Nigeria. I have a video that'll probably come out in a couple of days. And it's always so hard to talk to him because he's brilliant and he works really hard and everyone does. But like a week will go by and just so many things will happen. His uncle will be murdered. A prison will explode and a bunch of people will get out and attack, the government corruption here and there and all these things that are happening. And it's interesting because seeing this conflict between corporations and Islam and Christianity, like all these different groups that are deciding what is socially acceptable. And so we're pushed into this idea of what's socially acceptable, what's moral. And I think that makes it really dangerous as well, because then those laws will work against us. We might need to focus more on absolutes like human rights policy. And then some of these companies don't want to take the work that it takes to petition to the government. Hey, this is a free speech matter, which is why they just in China, they'll shut down Flickr or something like that. But it's so hard to fight for a corporation to fight for your freedom. It's just such a ridiculous concept. Why would they do it? What's the value there? Right.
Yeah. They're going to go whatever the money is. They don't care.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's their fiduciary duty to do that as well. So
not always, actually. I mean, people need to start writing their own corporate charters. Like if you're ever to form your own LLC, hire someone to write your own charter, and you don't have to prioritize a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders or anything like that.
Yeah, but if you're a publicly traded company versus an LLC, it's a little different, right?
No, if you write your own, everyone's lazy. They copy and paste the same corporate charter. So it's like, that's just a custom to prioritize financial returns.
I thought that was like in the law.
No. There's corporations out there that have their own charter that prioritizes like moral values and stuff like that.
And they're publicly traded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was a law. Like if you're publicly traded, you had to function for your shareholders.
No, it's just that everyone's lazy and they just tend to go with the same contracts. Lawyer, that's what lawyers do, right? They're like, I'm going to charge you $400 to open up this file and print it and like put your name in there and the name of your corporation.
Copy paste this document.
They're going to write a whole new thing. That's hard.
Yeah. Interesting, man. Yeah. I don't know. You guys want to keep going or what? We're already 2 hours into this, 2.5 hours, Andreas. We'll go as long as you want, bro.
I mean, it's up to you. We could go. Seth, what do you think? You want to cover a couple more things?
I'm down for whatever you guys want to do.
I mean, it's a hangout, so I'm not worried about whatever.
Yeah,
we're just hanging.
I'm good.
I saw some good questions. I saw some questions here. Kent said, where's Kent's chat there? Did Elon's family history with emerald mines lead to his association with Tesla becoming of the proxy to lithium mining? And, you know, I tend to think so, right? Because you think about it, he turned salt into the most valuable thing. People weren't even figuring out what to do with it, really. There's some batteries and things, and now he's going to have the largest control over the most valuable mining operations in South America and Australia and parts of South Africa again. I think that's his whole ploy. That's the thing, is that he's a mining man, right?
I don't know much about his I don't know much about his upbringing and all that.
Well, he wasn't poor.
What do you think about the Boring Company? What's the true aim of that? I mean, is he still trying to make
the fuck out of all of us, dude?
No, right? Exactly. So that's the thing. When you hear something called the Boring Company, obviously that should be a joke. You should know it's the most exciting thing he's doing.
The CIA would name the most important company. You know?
Right. Exactly. And so what do? They're building and they're establishing connections between all the discrete underground military bunkers, the DUMBs. They're building these tunnel systems. There already are huge tunnel systems. You go to any East Coast city, Nancy Pelosi has to go through a California tunnel too, on the West Coast, but there are in the snow in DC, you know, of course they're going to take a senator through a tunnel to the airport. And in Cleveland, there are the riot tunnels, and in Pennsylvania, there are in Philadelphia, there are a number of sets of these tunnels. I just did a video recently talking to Beeg Productions about viaducts. Viaducts look like bridges, but they're really just platforms. An entire city can be, in Atlanta, for instance, built on top of a platform while they have their infrastructure and subways underneath them. So the Boring Company is the thing, like the thing that will connect people regardless of weather, regardless of traffic, just shooting people like through pneumatic tubes 1,000 miles.
But shouldn't we be restructuring to stop being on top of each other in cities like that?
Well, that's the thing. So H.G. Wells' things to come is that we go into the troglodyte mode of building deeper. Yeah, you just why not build straight down 1,000 stories, right?
Yeah, but why do we need to do that when we don't need to live on top of each other anymore? Like the whole purpose of having to have everybody in this small little area. Do we really?
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean the internet is supposed to. Why are people still? I mean, if we're really worried about the environment, you know, I actually am, but not in the way they are. I don't think we can control the temperature.
I'm worried about plastic.
I'm against pollution and plastics in the water, stuff like that. If we have the internet, why are people still commuting? You know, I mean, I'm not one of these people that has like a boner for fossil fuels. I think it sucks. It's like a necessary stopgap measure to be burning and having all this brake dust and gas fumes and all this stuff. Like, I think it's so ridiculous when people are like, we need this forever. This is like, God bless the USA and fossil fuels. Like, I'm trying to get off of that too. I don't want to, restructure the whole economy and pick the winners and losers with the government in order to do it. But I'm in a rush to get off of fossil fuels too. And why are people still commuting? You know? It's crazy.
Yeah, if you don't need to. I mean, I barely drive. I have a car just to like run some errands every now and then, but that's it. But I'm lucky enough that I make my living here in my office. You know what I mean? But yeah, to me, the future is we got to stop living on top of each other because it makes you miserable. It lowers the quality of life for everybody that has to live like that.
I'm from New York City, so you have to tell me about it.
I mean, people go around just fucking cussing each other out all day long because everybody's on edge and pissed off about every little annoyance that they have to deal with all day. It's just not the best way for mankind to live in these little tiny spaces all crammed up.
Mark, you heard about the Wall City in United Arab Emirates?
Yeah, I saw the image of it. Yeah, I saw the Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's great. You'll be invisible to the elite, so they won't have to look at you.
Just put you out in the desert, you fuck.
And if a bunch of people start yelling, you just quarantine that block, right?
Yeah.
And there's the garden on the inside, right? So it should be nice on the inside of your elite Arab prison, you know. I mean,
they're gonna be like everybody gets a chance to live in the Wall, like a lottery, and then you're in there for 1 year, and the walls just go, and then they open it back up, bring in a whole other group of people.
Yeah. I would argue though that there's a reason this is like the inevitable thing is probably giant super cities, mega cities that are in a singular building where they're somewhere between a kilometer and maybe a mile, floor to floor, and it's a giant spiral that you can just drive around and you wouldn't even recognize that you're inside of the building for the most part. There could be atmospheric rain.
Yeah, but what's the need for us to be crammed?
Well, let elephants take back suburbia. You just get rid of all the people living in Illinois and then boom, there's just mastodons. You know what I'm saying?
There's a huge subset of humanity that doesn't really have the potential to to go out there and carve their own path and has to live in these. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being negative, but I know a lot of people who they want to live in cities for the convenience. Like, I don't have to have a car. I don't have to think XYZ. Everything's right in front of me. Everything's open 24 hours. And that's, you know, I mean, they have the choice to live that way.
I understand that convenience. That part I understand. But I just don't think it's overall because also that's a big part of pollution is when, from what I understand, if we're not all on top of each other, the earth does a pretty good job of cleaning itself. But when we put all of our shit in one place, that's when it becomes too much for the earth to kind of clean itself in a quick manner, you know.
Especially when you cover all the ground with cement. I mean, deny the opportunity to do anything.
So if we're talking about, you know, caring about the environment, maybe we shouldn't be putting everybody in these tiny little cities, man. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about Arthur C. Clarke before. I know, Seth, you've read some of his 2001: A Space Odyssey, 2010, and I mentioned
this. I've read a lot of what he's written, but I haven't read this one. I didn't know this existed.
For those from Mark's channel, Pink Trip, who, if you're not familiar with Arthur C. Clarke, he was a English science fiction writer and futurist who helped 2001: A Space Odyssey by writing the book and co-wrote the screenplay.
Too. What was the name of his show? The little documentary he used to do where he talk about like weird things.
Really?
Yeah, it's an old show from like the 70s.
Bro, you beat me. I didn't know. Oh, The Mysterious World? Mm-hmm. Look at that. Mark just like, I don't know anything except I know everything.
I was alive in the 70s too.
I come across stupid on here because
you play coy.
I don't know anything about.
You have poker face.
I don't pretend to know things I don't. So you talk about a lot of shit I have no idea about.
You just pretend not to know things you do know about the crystal skulls.
I love the crystal. I love documentaries, dude. That's about the only thing I watch anymore.
Arthur C. Clarke is more than just a science fiction writer and a guy who hosted a show and a Freemason. He was also involved with a lot of cover-up and real science. Real science is the thing. But in 3001, he talks about the future plans, right, for the world and how we'll have mega cities that actually reach the sky. We'll have space elevators. Have you heard of a space elevator?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Using spider silk.
One of the cool things about a space elevator is that because of its attachment to the thermosphere and the atmosphere, you actually have friction that's caused that produces so much energy that it would destroy and melt the cable unless you have that graphene we talked about for super energy. But just one of these would be enough to power the Earth for 100 years with the energy that it can store from 1 minute of it being charged. So
what happened to spider silk? I remember reading all this shit about how they were going to synthesize like the spider web.
Gonna need a lot of spiders.
So spider silk, they turn to goats and they create goat silk now. Right. And so military projects.
They're making freaking chimeras.
Yeah, it's true.
So they create goats that can produce spider milk. Their milk is the spider silk. That's hard to say.
It's true. Crazy. That's exactly right. And it's amazing stuff. And if you've ever touched goat silk, it is really, really strong. I've seen it.
Where did you touch goat silk? Get out of here! You're blowing my mind, bro.
Discovery at Moffett Field, bro. But yeah, they have this machine that pulls it super tight, and it legitimately is 1,000 times stronger than steel. But graphene is still stronger. So
I can't hear the word graphene without thinking about Ian.
Thank God he did a good job.
Yeah. Ian's cool. Ian's my favorite part.
I like Ian a lot. I like Luke also. Luke and Ian is where it's at.
Ian makes that so much more entertaining.
Yeah. I actually like the new guy, Serge, too. Like, he only says like 1 or 2 words, but I have a feeling he knows stuff.
Oh, I love Serge. I've known Serge for a few years actually now, and like I'm super glad he's working there. He's Dutch, South African. He's like an Afrikaner, so he's got a lot of weird, interesting backstory and things he's seen.
I'm glad you brought up Arthur C. Clarke. I always want to mention that we don't only have like the dark future of Arthur C. Clarke. Luckily, we have his contemporary and the good guy version of him, Robert Heinlein, who's wrote even more. I've read like 20 of his novels. He wrote Stranger in a Strange Land and a whole bunch of classics. A way more optimistic and humanistic version of the future than Arthur C. Clarke.
Right.
And I wish our world was being built in his image a little bit more. Although he was Navy intelligence too, so who knows? Maybe the whole thing's a setup.
And they did accuse him of being a bit hyper patriotic to a point of fascism, but I think that they missed the point. Was actually the irony there. But the reason I brought up Arthur C. Clarke and his space elevator super cities is because the idea is so many people who would live in these cities would end up being so high in the Jetsons above the civilization. He predicted that it would be very difficult to come back down to the Earth to acclimate, and so we would get used to a lot of people that start to evolve to not be able to even live on the Earth's surface. I think that might be next.
The reason I brought up Heinlein because he has another vision of that called "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress." It's a great novel, and they send up prisoners to mine the moon. Like that's their prison sentence. They go live on the moon and mine it. And they almost immediately start their own government and go to war with the Earth, and they're just like dropping giant rocks onto the Earth. Like the moon and Earth go. Not his most optimistic novel, but he has a space elevator in that way that works a totally different way too. I can't remember what it is right now, but it's definitely not Spider Silk. But they have some easy way of going back and forth, and they have catapults where they send goods with catapults, and then there's like resistor fields that slow the stuff down so they can just catch it. So just like launching stuff back and forth.
Yeah,
Heinlein's brilliant.
Dave Chappelle's trending. That's so weird. Y'all heard
Dave Chappelle? I heard he's not supposed to do the SNL thing, or didn't they say half of the crew wasn't going to show up?
The writers were boycotting because they didn't want to work with Dave Chappelle.
How is there another season of SNL? Didn't they cancel it yet? Like I thought that they were.
Well, there's a dude I know that got on there. God, I can't remember his name, but I met him at a show. The Hispanic guy. Fuck, never mind. I'm so bad with remembering names, but apparently it's been a really good show. Everybody's talking about the monologue was hilarious and shit.
Oh, cool.
But it's crazy. It's crazy that Dave Chappelle is now not acceptable.
Not really. I mean, after he did the show, the Chappelle Show, which he decided he was disgusted with himself that he allowed to happen because it's basically that movie Bamboozled, where you got people that are exploiting blaxploitation. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Make more racist material that makes yourself look bad. Then we'll sell it in T-shirts. And so eventually he had a life crisis and went to Africa. I thought it was
because they were trying to control him and shit and put him in a dress.
I thought they wanted to put him in a dress and
Well, he'd already said no to that stuff first season.
Yeah. I hate the idea that his comedy on the Chappelle Show is any way problematic at all. That is,
and they did put him in a dress since he's been back from Africa and back on TV and stuff. They did put him in a dress. I forget if it was on SNL or Mad TV or where, but he did wear a dress.
Yeah, Kanye
TV.
said. I mean, this might be getting into dangerous territory. Did y'all see that Kanye interview the other day? Where he said his mom was sacrificed.
Right. Yeah. That was a topic I kind of thought we should bring up. Probably.
Good.
Let me see if I can find the article on that. Where is that out? Kanye, he says his mother was sacrificed, in quotes.
What's going on in InfoWars?
Yeah, well, you know. Yes. For real news.
Kanye's making the frogs gay.
They want to monetize him, traumatize.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Rapper and fashion mogul Ye.
With love, by the way. I'm sure everybody here loves Alex Jones, so it's with love.
Rapper and fashion mogul Ye claimed the untimely death. You know, by the way, that's going to happen to me. I talk so much on podcasts. Eventually, it's going to happen. My voice is going to be like,
Yeah, I wish I could get a little more manliness in my voice.
Gives you a better singing voice, man. Ladies love it.
There we go. Tom Waits. Rapper and fashion mogul Ye claimed the untimely death of his mother was no accident, but the result of a sacrifice made by the Hollywood elite. Let's zoom in a bit. In the interview with the Shade Room earlier this week, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, explained that the Hollywood machine is furious that they can't keep him on the official script. They can't control me, he stated from his vehicle. They can control Shaq. They can control Charles Barkley. They can control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce. But they can't control me. You see, it ain't no name I won't name. It ain't no name I won't name. It's up. Ye then started making a startling claim that his mother was sacrificed by the Hollywood elite before naming other celebrities who may have been victims of a similar conspiracy. My mama ain't here, Ye stated. My mama was sacrificed. Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right? Bill Cosby, his son, Dr. Dre, his son, out in Hollywood. A lot of people, he didn't even bring in Morgan Freeman. Where's Morgan Freeman killing his nephew? So sacrificing allegedly, right?
Ooh, what's that story?
Oh, man. Again, with my Nigerian friend. But if you look into African magic, there's a lot of you sacrifice a family member in order to get a lot of power. Right. And this is something that he's bringing it up here. They want to monetize and traumatize. He continued. And God love me. They hit me. Gap, Adidas. They took all that away. Still, Forbes, who hates me, had to write net worth 400 million. Jesus is king. God loves me.
Well, there's no doubt that his mom suffered. Was a victim of a bad doctor, pretty much, right? Like it was all a botched surgery, like the liposuction, right? Like
she was an influential person in the record industry too. She wasn't just like Kanye's mom. I think she was some sort of a producer, executive herself.
Yeah, but I was looking at it said that she died of heart disease and blah 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 blah. From my understanding, she died from the doctor being fucked up, doing stupid shit. I don't know. It's been a long time since I read that story, but apparently she's a victim of malpractice or whatever the fuck they call it.
My opinion of Kanye is that he's generally correct. He understands the general themes and a lot of the details he provides. And this is just a guess. I think that he's just like us, kind of like perusing conspiracy theories, and then his feeling is history and mainstream worldview is all constructed. So he's like, I'm going to construct a different one based on stuff that pisses off the people that are controlling the current narrative. So he's like, the Earth is flat, the moon landing's fake, just everything that's the opposite, or that he's heard about on the internet.
Well, that's the theory, is that he's saying things that get the most attention, right?
I think he's doing it on purpose, just to show that anyone can build a mainframe that you can live in, and there's no way to know if it's true or not. It's just a feeling I have about him. But we have a new archetype. At least I'm not familiar with that. I don't know where it is in the tarot deck. People like Elon and people like Kanye, who are basically like the Joker, but for good. Like they don't want to watch the world burn. They want to see the world flourish, but they're using chaos and they're embracing the chaos to do it. I don't know if that's a known archetype or something new.
I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the things Kanye's saying, but I think it's important that we just let people say these things.
And
not silence them.
It's important. People don't understand context so often, so that's the other thing. So, like the way he's talking about what's going on, with magic and sacrifices, and it sounds like you said earlier, like, oh, what is there a spell involved or something like that? It doesn't have to be that way. It can literally be just product placement in order to get subliminal marketing into someone's mind so that they can make themselves more famous and they can control your wallet. I mean, Oprah sells The Secret for a reason, because that's how she makes power. Right. Power is a very legitimate, non-abstract thing.
Right. Magic is just technologies we haven't figured out yet. So
if you guys at some point check out this video I have up on my channel, Pure Black Magic with Ludo Ndlovu, which is she's from Botswana, and she talks a lot about some of the celebrities from America that go to Botswana to get a magician to perform one of these crazy rituals and what they ask them to do. And there's some pretty crazy stuff that goes on, right? And you've heard everything from albino kidnappings to human sacrificing of family members. It's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, somehow, no wonder nobody's watching this shit. I forgot to turn monetization on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that always happens. YouTube don't want to share your shit if it's not monetized. It's like,
can't they put money on it anyway or something like that? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, no, they don't care. Like, it's just you that gets demonetized.
So when you monetize your video, does it turn yellow and you have to have it reviewed?
I've been lucky with a few of them that they haven't turned yellow, but most of them turn yellow. And then as soon as the stream's over, I can review it and it's like immediately turned green. I don't know about this one though, because we've talked about a lot of getting into moonland.
Yeah, I'm curious how things work for you normally. Right? Yeah, for me, it's always like about a week of them checking with the superiors if they're allowed to have this content up. Yeah,
I mean, because I have a bigger channel, I get a little more trust with that kind of stuff. I can tell like a lot of my videos are automatically monetized. I get to select what's in the video and tell them like there's cussing or whatever, So.
What's the next thing you want to make a video about? Like, I know I've seen you do Tim's videos. You've been doing Rogan videos.
I mean, whatever the fuck I can find to make interesting. I mean, my big thing is this weekend I'm going to go do some stuff with Alex Stein. I got I got a lot of good ideas for. It's going to be in the vein of like the Alex Jones one, except hopefully a little more funny.
Nice.
Alex Jones one, and I'm just finished that Dr. Phil video, and the next one's probably I don't know. I'll probably work on the Sober October episode. Everybody wants to see that one since the shout out and all that. But yeah, it's hard for me to say because I'm at the stage now where I'm just figuring out what I want to do next. Besides the Alex Stein interview, that
I like the interview. I like you doing a Stein interview. I love Alex, and I think that what you did with Alex Jones was great too. The more interviews you're doing, it's a little bit of everything. You got the beginning part where you cut it all together really funny, which is one of my favorite tricks. Is like that's all my life. I've loved that way to introduce content, just a bunch of out of order snippets, and then you show the real interview. So it's the best of both. I think it's really good.
It's always I don't like to cut things where everything that you cut ends on the cutting room floor, especially with the type of shit I make. Like people have to be able to see what ends up on the cutting room floor. I'm not 60 minutes trying to fucking pull the wool over people's eyes. But yeah, that's still something I'm just starting. So there's a lot of room for growth. And what I'm going to do with the Alex is like, it's going to be probably more funny, more edited than the Alex Jones interview, which was basically just sitting down and chatting. But I did edit the shit out of that to make it more watchable,
Go ahead.
What was your experience with Alex Jones like? What's your takeaways?
Dude, it was fucking surreal. As Alex Jones, dude. Like, there's a lot of famous people I could have met and wouldn't have been a big deal, but for some reason, sitting in front of Alex Jones was very. It was just I was very nervous for that interview. But
you did a good job. Did you see it yet, Seth? I'll send you a link to it after.
Oh, no, I saw that for sure. That's actually the first full Pink Trip. I said the first time you came on Xirtus' show, I'm just kind of I'm not a boomer, but I'm like late generation X. I didn't know who you were, and I didn't realize how famous and popular your stuff is. But that's the first one I sat down and watched in its entirety because I'll watch anything with Alex Jones.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, the whole people keep saying you're famous. It's like I do not live the life of a famous person. So the idea that I'm famous is just
that's a blessing, brother. You have the best of both worlds, and you're influential, and you don't have to deal with celebrities. I mean, that's or handlers or any of that. You don't have Dave Pasternak personal training you and putting you on Manafidil. Can I say that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Pasternak. Has anyone? People are covering Pasternak, right? That's happening.
Oh yeah. Literal MK Ultra handler, man, and like now we need to look into Manafidil. What's that?
Okay,
like,
that's
bro?
the guy that sent him the message about he's gonna get him. He's gonna be about drugging him up and not being able to spend time with his kids and stuff.
This is Harley Pasternak. He is your average.
Amy Winehouse was one of his clients. He's had multiple celebrity clients that died under his care, quote unquote.
Right.
And he puts them on Manafidil, which is like hypnotic, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what.
Modafinil is a nootropic kind of connected to Limitless.
Say what you want about Kanye, whether you think he's going off the reservation or not. That text message he produced is some terrifying shit.
So check out some of the other victims of Harley Pasternak. Okay, so you've got Legrand, Lady Gaga, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kim Kardashian, of course, Hetty, Kanye West,
everybody.
Yeah,
everybody crazy.
Going, Will Ferrell, Adam Levine, people you hear about, Amy Schumer, Rihanna, John Mayer, Megan Fox, Miley Cyrus.
It's all the people telling you how to vote too.
These are people who are controlled because of their sexuality.
I love Katy Perry. Don't take Katy Perry away from me.
Well, you know, she started out as a Christian musician.
McGuire, that's too bad. I like him. Well, I mean, I pray for all these people, right? I mean, these aren't the villains. He's the villain.
No, right. These are victims too, because they have to deal with Mac Miller.
Oh, Nathan Fillion, come on, bro, give me a break.
Of course,
Mac Miller. There he is.
Yeah, so you get put on some drugs. They have some secrets about you that they can destroy your career with.
And he's like, bro, shouldn't I be more famous? Why am I the least famous guy?
and they can take your kids. Well, maybe he was dating somebody.
Why am I Manafidil? I'm not even that famous.
Yeah, right. I gotta brag for a moment. Katy Perry, when I did one of the first flagrant cuts I did, she reached out to me she wanted me to make a video for her. But she ended up not really communicating with me and putting me off to like some, I guess, I don't know, management, social media management or whatever. And I almost had an opportunity to make a cool video with her, but they totally fucked it up. Of course.
Do it again. Fix other people's mistakes. Katy Perry's out there. Don't stop. I mean, the thing is, the more you can be the one to do the thing in the world, the more you can be sure it's a good thing instead of a bad thing.
They wanted me to do an American Idol cut. And I wasn't, to be honest, I'll be honest, because I made it sound like I'm sad about it. I gave them a ridiculous amount of money to do it. Like, if you're not interested in doing something, you're just like, well, let me just throw a ridiculous amount of money out there and see if they say yes, because I really don't want to do this. And then they agreed at that amount, but then they fucking made it to where I couldn't really do it. They wouldn't give me the time to do it, because it takes a lot of time to make these videos and a lot of fucking content to go over. So if you give me like 3 minutes of material to cut something up, like what am I going to do with that? Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. Someone said Gallagher died. That's a shame.
Just talking about him the other night.
Dude, yeah, I've been thinking about him a lot too. It's weird. Like right before people pass away, I'll like watch all of their. I just watched I watched 2 Gallagher videos last month.
I was talking to Alex about how comedy now is like, it's just everything's been done too many times, and everybody's just rehashing the same sort of style. Where like back in the late 80s and early 90s, you had like some unique performers, like you had Sam Kinison, you had Gallagher, where they were at least doing something different on stage, something new.
You can find it, just not on TV. That's why I keep hoping YouTube. YouTube needs to become more. You need to have more cameras in nightclubs showing the whole nightclub and everything. Like again, it needs to be like TV was in the 50s.
Yeah, but there's YouTube channels that are like all based comedy clubs. There's one in London, I forget what it's called, but they have a YouTube channel. It's like all the comedians there are like super based.
Yeah, that's the future.
Super based.
Super. I mean, comedy is supposed to be based. Comedy is surprising truth. It's like you say something true that people are like, "Wow, that is true," and it surprises them.
And you can say things that are untrue just to play devil's advocate and make it funny. Like truth. That's the thing about comedy. It's who gives a fuck about truth? To me, it's like make people laugh. That's what
I don't think you can do it without the truth. I don't think lies are funny.
Yeah, lies are funny. That's my whole fucking all my videos are lies. They're funny.
They're just missing context is the point. It's like if you didn't know.
Joe Rogan doesn't murder and eat people. That's a lie.
Yeah, but those are all words that were said. Those are all words that were said. They're put in order differently.
He would, by the way, if it made him younger or stronger.
There are words that are said, but there are, I do a lot of splicing words and shit. So
yeah.
It's not always what was actually said. The word was said, but not the word that followed it or preceded it,
Word.
Wouldn't it be cool if Joe Rogan would have some, some dangerous people on his show? I don't know if he's just not able to, but it's been years since he's had on anyone dangerous.
I understand what you're saying about lies, but I think if your job is just to make people laugh, then you shouldn't be this. I mean, there is some benefit to having like truth in comedy and you're making a solid point, but I think there's too much of that now. Like the left does it all the time. Like all their comedy is like, oh, look at my political view and how I'm so smart. Rather than just be the fucking clown. You're the clown. Go be the fucking clown.
You mean my one sentence definition of comedy isn't right?
Someone brings up Rogan did have Sam Tripoli on, and I love Sam, but you know what? What did Sam talk about that was so cool? Tartaria, right? And where did he hear about Tartaria?
I remember that. He did bring up Tartaria.
Did he give you a shout?
No. And he did not, but that's okay.
What was Joe Rogan's reaction? Was he like, well, this is freaking cool? Or was he like, that sounds stupid?
No, he hasn't called me. So
if Randall Carlson said it would have sounded cool. That's for sure.
I remember seeing it, but I don't remember what Joe's reaction was. I don't think he talked about it too long, did he?
Oh, they did. They were like 20 minutes and they looked it up and they went into some stuff. It was pretty decent. The amount of
What was Joe's reaction?
It was pretty good. He was open to it. Eddie Bravo's talking about it. They kept bringing up, he loves John Levi, who I love too, from Utah, who does a bunch of good videos on Tartaria. I mean, there's a lot of really good research that's out there. So it was cool that he brought it up. That was 4 or 5 years ago that we started researching it. So that it was just 20 minutes brought up last month for the first time ever is kind of strange to me. It seems like, especially so much that he has Randall Carlson on and Hancock, he could be talking about it more. It's so much more provable than anything they talk about because we have all the historical records. The Freemasons in Morals and Dogma talk about Tartaria. It's everywhere, so there's,
as I always bring up, dude, we still got tartar sauce. Explain it.
Dude, tartar sauce. First, Coke of tartar, the tartar powder, the first patent in the United States is the tartar cream of tartar, right?
Cream of tartar. That's the first.
That's the first patent in the United States.
Yeah, first patent. Let me see if I can find the picture of patent.
So that means Tartaria is 100% real then.
I mean, there's a lot of things more important than that you can see the values of. Peter Fleming is a good example. Let me see. Peter Fleming Tartary. So Ian Fleming, his brother, went and wrote a book called News from Tartary, talking all about the territories that the Jesuits referred to as Tartary from Turkey into China. Actually, Beijing used to be called Tartar City, right? So,
yeah, I think you'll hear more people talking about it as it gets more play because the first time I ever heard about it was from you guys. I'm like, what the fuck are
we just need the butt plug metaphor for that, like the chess game. Like when Tartary hits like tartar sauce and tarnation, and it gets to the point where it's sensationalized. People love talking about the AI. Free energy, what if it was a Tesla Tower, World Trade Fair? That's the only way that you can get normal people to care about the fact that their entire world's stolen from them. A fake history is being used to keep them headed towards a reset where they're going to lose everything that they have.
Are you monetized on YouTube?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you get a lot of limiteds?
No, I'm pretty lucky actually. They just take a while to make sure I'm okay. I'm safe.
Yeah, because I've noticed I had a lot of older videos that got age restricted and all that shit, and I couldn't get it fixed. And as soon as I pulled them out of my playlist, all of a sudden my channel improved. It's like if you get a bunch of limited shit or age restricted videos, you almost have to fucking get rid of them because it's going to affect your entire channel. It's pretty.
I've got like 1,000 videos. I probably have like 11, less than 11, maybe a handful that are restricted.
Yeah,
I'll go through them and remove them just on that.
Because I know the last one I did with Tim, it got age gated, and everything after that was like it didn't want to share it. And then once I got rid of that, all of a sudden my views started going back to normal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a lot more videos that are on my Odyssey and Rumble that are even weirder, you know, and the MK Ultra videos. But what I love is that when COVID first hit, everybody thought the world was ending. So all the lawyers were out. And so I did a bunch of these like MK Ultra 6-hour testimonies, putting together all the evidence I could, which would be normally copy struck. And so I just said petition, fair use, educational. But normally you'd have to deal with that. There was nobody there. And it takes 20 days or something for them to just not deal with it for it to be okay.
Yeah, that's what they do. They won't come back and let it go. If they feel like, okay, he's right, it's fair use, they'll let it sit for 30 days and just leave it alone.
They did, and I won.
Time to go, okay, release the copyright claim.
So I have crazy stuff like
that's what stopped me from getting my award was I had a couple old copyright claims. Because the first time I asked for the reward, they said they couldn't give it to me, and they wouldn't tell me why. And then the second time I asked, they said, okay, we'll give it to you now. And then he told me basically it was the copyright claims. Okay. So yeah, you don't want to have copyright claims either, dude. They make it seem like it's no big deal, but it does get factored into the algorithm and all that bullshit.
Interesting.
Not really. But if you're a creator, it is.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. Like that's one of the things. The real person we should be watching, and I know it sounds silly, but it's true, is Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast figured out the algorithm, gamed the algorithm. He's like, hey, everybody. And by the way, I'll do this for you. If you guys, after this video, you send a bunch of comments on our channels, the 100th comment, I will give you a pair of rainbow glasses. Yeah. So you go to my Discord and we'll set it up. So this is the way to do it. You start to reward participation, getting people to actually comment more. And they're like, whoa, the algorithm's showing that a bunch of people commented even in the normal area afterwards. In the after the live, that's how it grows. Sharing the videos. Hey, if you share the video 1,000 times, we'll give you 100 times. We'll give you a pair of glasses. Something like that.
Is that what he does? Because I know people have been doing those like, oh yeah, the 100th commenter will get a $20 Visa gift card.
He started with stuff like that, and then he went out into the street and just would, actually give people money to do something. And now he's, the game show master in a lot of ways. And Google tried to pay him $1 billion for his company. But it is, there's a way to beat the algorithm, and it has to do with swap casting, working together, bringing more people to talk about things, and getting the viewers involved, making sure that they're participatory. They're not just watching. We care what you guys are saying. Give me $5, John.
I care. I don't know about Seth though. I don't think Seth cares.
Seth cares. Seth's one of the most caring people I've ever met.
I've had like the care about my success as an influencer kind of beaten out. I used to be not huge, but I was like one of the like most regular live shows on Instagram, and I used to get thousands of live viewers and everything like that. Now I'm down to like 20 live viewers because I refuse to ever edit myself. I say all the full words, the no words. I say them. I start off every show. I go V. I say it out loud a bunch of times. I'm like, there, now we've done it, and like the people that are still there hanging in, I'm like, let the alien archive us in the future to see how based I was. So like, I've kind of just like been beaten into this like Mad Max headspace. But now that Andreas has brought me out of the dark and onto YouTube, I do plan on trying to game the algorithm and all the stuff you guys are talking about, just because, it's still, what's the point of putting in so much energy and getting no reward from it? And then it makes it impossible for me to market my music, which is super high production value, and music videos. I'm spending tons of my own money and I can't even market it. So it's like, I do need to get smarter about it. I'm just angry with Instagram. But
it's something that Tim Pool was talking about not too long ago about, because he had Milo Yiannopoulos on, and Milo was like, you're saying less so that more people can hear you. Right. And I kind of agree with that mentality where it's like, I compare it to like all these things are like landmines in front of us. And it's like, none of us like the landmines, right? But are we just going to go fucking jump on it just because we don't like it? You know what I mean? That's what some people do. It's like, oh, I'm not supposed to say this, so let me just start saying it like crazy. Well, it's like stepping on a landmine. You're now.
I think you have to make that calculation every day and see how things are going, and see what your potential is, and see what you've got stockpiled in terms of like actual, wealth. And
that makes a difference. If you're Kanye,
how much does your audience love you? Like, can I go off of these platforms right now and do what Owen Benjamin did? No, I can't, because I'm not as popular as Owen Benjamin. So I mean, you have to make that calculation every day, like what you can get away with and what's the best.
Even with the fame and popularity that Owen had, he still had a difficult time with it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I disagree with that, by the way. I don't think Milo is ridiculously based at all.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like how many hypocritical movements he's made, and watching his accent disappear as he goes through his conversion therapy.
Was it just me too that he sounded different too?
That's what you do, though. That's very Stanislavski or Juilliard. You know, the Mid Atlantic. He's trying to learn to be. If you speak a different, a lot of Southerners would become Californian actresses. They would teach them to speak French. And that way they would think in French. And then when they learned English again, they could speak it more clearly to everyone else. So he's trying to code switch in order to separate himself from who he was before in a lot of ways. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, because I think if you're trying to change and you recognize that you've made a bunch of mistakes and the things he did were so ridiculously unbased that it was like really hard to feel bad for him when he was like on Facebook Marketplace selling his jacket, which I almost bought because I knew I could rock it. But I didn't.
Also, when your brand is that you're the smartest guy in the room, you can't ever admit to being outsmarted, and he was outsmarted by Trump.
Yeah. Thank you for outsmarting me on a daily basis, Seth. That helps me.
Get out of here. You be quiet.
I just remember him talking about at one point he wanted people to get banned. He's like, everybody needs to get banned so that everybody will like stand up. So like, so like that to me was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, yeah, okay, you got banned. It sucks for you. So now you want everybody else to get banned too? Like, that's the only solution.
I understand the sentiment. It would be fair, but the world isn't a fair place, and people operate, based off their own incentives. So it's crazy that you would think that was.
Abby Hoffman was all about that too, though. Abby Hoffman was like, "Hey, these rich kids who are hippies, they're all hyper upper middle class, and they, what we need to do is take a bunch of kids, bring them to Chicago, have the police attack them, and then they're gonna know exactly how bad it is out there. That'll teach them all about." And that granted, they were like leftists, so it's harder to sympathize as much, but you still have to sympathize. And the idea of training people is the same thing they do with police. You're like, okay, you're a police officer, but you don't think pot's that bad. Let's bring him to a meth bust and have him break his back or hurt his arm. That'll teach him that there's some serious problems here. So there's a lot of this traumatization that goes on. I think he was right to say.
Pop-up Luth on Arrested Development, where that's what happens when you don't lock the car door. The guy gets his arm ripped off.
Yep. That's what they're trying to train people to respond to. And I think that's kind of what Milo was saying. He's like, hey, if you guys all experience this, you would rise up. Well, Marx said that too.
Yeah, I see it as a battlefield where if you're going to sacrifice your life, it better be damn well meaningful.
The thing about
I'm not going to be cannon fodder.
The thing about people is they don't rise up really in useful ways, but still progress continues to be made, like actual progress, like what we're doing right now. Like our freedom is limited in a lot of ways, but we're free to, I never would have been able to influence the small handful of people that I have their ear. So somehow we keep pressing forward, although the people don't rise up, and we keep living this political pit in the pendulum situation that seems like, it's getting closer and closer to cutting through us, but still we're growing in some ways too. So I think this is just the paradigm. This is what life is like. You don't reach utopia, you don't reach dystopia. You just deal with the new problems that the future and technology bring you, and we're just doing our best.
I mean, I'm hopeful. Like Fetterman just got elected. I think he's going to do good things. I think
I'm for it, dude. I want I can't say the R word. I almost said it. I want everyone in government to be differently abled, because then they won't get anything done. That would be ideal.
Yeah, but Andreas thinks it's all a con.
Yeah, I don't trust it. I don't think he's quite as dumb as he plays, and I also think it doesn't matter because there's a huge group of people around him that are making the real power decisions anyway, and that's kind of their testament of strength. Sure. They're like, look how weak we can have our figurehead because of how powerful.
It's a great demonstration of how little control you have over your country just because you can elect officials, and then you see the kind of officials that get elected, and it's like, yeah, this guy's not running anything. Biden's not running anything. Fetterman's not going to run anything. So I think it's good to, pull the curtain back and let people see the Wizard of Oz for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Marx was technically a Jesuit, but you could talk about Franco-Jesuit education. Maybe you could say he was definitely influenced by the Jesuits in terms of the academics. Well, bros, we're 3 hours deep. I think we should do this. We should do this again. I want to show off your channels though for people really quickly. All right, guys, don't vote for.
Thanks for bringing me in, by the way. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, dude, glad you showed up, Seth.
We'll definitely have to do it again. It's not, what do you say, mainstream or what do you normie? It's based. It's very grounded and fundamental stuff. But go to Venice Beach Dub Club on YouTube, subscribe, He doesn't have as many subscribers on here yet, but he's almost to 1,000. Let's get him to the promoted
All I
segment.
put is music videos. That's why. I mean, I'm not doing daily content on there. I'll get my channel stricken.
But he does have daily content. So if you guys go to the Instagram, you can. Oh, this is. I forget the symbology of this stuff. Is this Instagram? Okay. My hieroglyphs are off. So if you go to Instagram, you can get up here, and he's got a decent amount of followers because
I've been stuck at that amount of followers for over a year. The exact number.
I don't want it to grow. But he does some amazing stuff. Here's him with Anomaly. And so you can check out some of his raps. But every day, except for Wednesday, when he's on Wednesday Ultra on my show, he's doing shows. So
here, I gotta where's this? Let me highlight a comment here.
Pull it up.
If it shows up. I don't know. It might have been. Anyway, this guy Jack says, yeah, you should call it fucking morons that think you're smart. When did I ever say I was smart? When did I
think he's talking about me being a ninny. You should call it Andreas as a ninny.com, which we'll go to, but
it's people that you say something they disagree with and then they hate you for it.
One day that guy's going to make a comment like that, and they're going to be like, this guy's got his finger on the pulse, and like somebody's going to call him up and make a deal with him, give him $1 million. Like, thank you for your advice. You're a genius.
Yeah,
I only listen to Feldman 24/7, the podcast. Yeah, that's what we'll have. Guys, also make sure that if you're on my channel and you haven't, subscribe to Ping Trip. He has a great following already, but he could definitely use your support, especially because, you know, he could talk about crazier things if you just make him feel comfortable about it. But I love
that crazy shit.
I'm
very normie, dude. No,
he pretends. He pretends. But these videos are really good. And if you really want to see, like, if I would say instead of watching the actual episode, 90% of the time, I just watch the Ping Trip remix, to be perfectly honest. It's the only way to get to
then, I always get scared when people say that, because then like somebody might see that and go, oh, so now you're competing with Joe.
No. I mean, if it's good enough, I'll watch the real episode because of you.
That's the hope.
How long do you scan through to find the perfect thumbnail facial expression for each one of these? Because these are
I usually stumble across it in the process of cutting it.
Oh, okay.
I'll be like, oh, that's a good face. That's a good face. And sometimes you'll be surprised. You won't notice it until you slow it down. So sometimes you just catch something at the right time that you might not have seen in real time. Like the Tulsi face. On the Tulsi one, that one was a happy accident. I just kind of paused it at the right time, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's a weird face."
Not bad at all. And if you want to be tracked by the CIA, you can go to Xirtus.com and click on my links to my videos and start subscribing. If you watch the Xirtus Satarday documentary, I'm sure you'll be put on a list somewhere, but it'll teach you a lot of things. That's a good start to everything.
I don't think he's joking about the CIA part, guy. You know.
I mean, hey, but if you can also go to the Xirtus YouTube.
You're glowing right now, Andreas.
When everyone's on a watch list, no one's on a watch list.
Right. It's more of a watch index with a bunch of asterisks, but we have a ton of videos here. I have the series Acid Dreams talking about the CIA's efforts to bring LSD into the public and to make it a popularized substance to control people with mind control. Stories of Matthew Turman from Turning Point, interviews from people in Africa, in the Ukraine, and then every day, basically, we have a show, Saturday, Real Science, where we're doing anti-gravity research, MK Canada, studying all the crazy things going on in Canada, Wednesday Ultra with Seth, which is one of my favorite shows, and Think Tank, also not a bad show, where we talk about synchronicities and gets into the Kabbalah and everything else. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the weird stuff.
It's some pretty interesting stuff, but you got to put your thinking cap on, because you got to be ready to dive deep, man.
To be fair, every single one of these episodes has like several minutes of really psychedelic and abstract musical intro that is so it gets you into a vibe. So there's some stuff going on. Yeah.
Well, cool, guys.
I'm always in the chat. You'll always see me in Xirtus' chat any day of the week.
It's true. Pumping the questions with the good stuff.
You're a regular on Wednesday Ultra too, right? So you always
come back on Wednesday and you'll see Seth, and we're gonna go deep. I don't even know what we're talking about this week. I think we have a guest even, so it'll be good.
Awesome.
Cool. I'll tell you what. I got Friday. I'm going to be doing another show with Andreas, and I'm gonna have Quite Frankly on as well. And then the 23rd, I'm gonna be talking to Dr. Chloe Carmichael, Hot Doctor. If you guys remember the Hot Doctor from Tim Pool's podcast.
I do.
And yeah, that's about it, man.
Awesome.
And plus, there's some edits coming too. I'm always editing. Everybody goes, "Oh, you're doing live streams now?" I was like, no, I'm editing too. All right, relax. I'm still editing. Go ahead.
Sweet.
Love it. Oh, well, by the way, if you're in California, you can catch me hosting DiPiazza's every Sunday night, the best reggae party in town. If you're a local in California, come to DiPiazza's. I'll buy you a drink or a pizza.
There you go.
I'll be there.
But what will he expect in return? Right. Well, I know Mark, you don't really do the intro or finale thing. So if you want, I can clip you out as I play my outro. But I have my
I'll go ahead and end it.
Okay.
Good, brother.
I love you guys.
Enjoy the crazy outro, guys. Try not to get brainwashed.
Peace.
The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing.